welcome back to the Bowtie Movie Lounge. I'm your host, Jacob Strupek,
And I'm your co-host, Gabriel Coates.
and today we are talking about an absolute classic. You've definitely heard of it if you haven't seen it before. Today we're talking about Steven Spielberg's 1998 war drama, Saving Private Ryan.
Ooh, boy.
Oh yeah, so we are in for a ride. Whoa. Hopefully this podcast isn't as long as the movie, you know.
Because, I mean, there's a lot in this movie. Like, it's just long and intense, and there's so much that goes into this movie.
It's long, but after watching like a movie like The Batman, which I feel like was a little unnecessarily 3 hours long, this movie is like 2 hours and 50 minutes.
Something like that.
So
it's
yeah,
close
something
to, like,
it's
3
like
hours.
close to 3 hours, but I felt like it carried well.
Well, for, like, most of the movies back in the 90s, most of those movies were, like, an hour and a half.
Right.
So, for this movie to be almost 3 hours, it was really, like, pushing its, like...
It already
it's
was
pushing its
pushing.
time.
It already was pushing, but I mean, I feel like it did pretty good.
No,
You know,
definitely.
it-
I mean,
it
like,
definitely helped.
every minute of the movie, it's always, like,
It doesn't.
so good.
It doesn't take you out of enjoying it.
No.
But it is a movie where you kind of have to carve out time to be like, okay, I am gonna watch Saving Private Ryan.
Because
It is gonna take a while.
Yeah, it's gonna be a while.
Yeah. Anyway, so this movie stars Tom Hanks, Matt Damon, Tom Sizemore, Barry Pepper, and a lot more. Let's see.
Vin Diesel's in there.
Vin Diesel. You get. Oh shoot! Why am I blanking on his name? Bryan Cranston pops out of nowhere. Paul Giamatti.
Yeah.
Literally
They have a
everyone-
lot of like cameos that is just kind of like, what?
Literally everyone just kind of pops out for like
They just like stand there,
Yeah.
they have like a line, and then they're gone.
for literally no reason.
It's
You know?
interesting.
But no, it's cool. Well, then at that point, like Bryan Cranston, I don't think was as famous as he is now.
No, yeah,
He was not Walter.
Bad yet.
He was not Walter White yet. So was like Matt Damon, but
that too. Yeah, Matt Damon also wasn't a big name just yet.
right, Paul Giamatti a little more, but this one definitely propelled a lot of these people into their career a little further.
Yeah. I mean, it's
Um.
a big movie.
Yeah. Speaking of big movie, this movie had a $70 million budget, making $30 million in the U.S. alone and a worldwide gross of $482 million to date.
That is so much.
Yeah, so pretty big
that
movie.
is a success.
This,
Success right
I'd
there.
say so too, especially for the producers and everything. I mean, 70 million compared to 482 million.
Yeah, that made a lot of extra
It really is. Outside of just being a great movie.
money. And I mean, the Congress even just deemed it worthy enough to preserve, by the National Film Registry. They said it was culturally, historically, and aesthetically significant, and they decided to preserve it in the Library of Congress.
Huh.
So the movie will be around forever.
It will, which rightfully so.
For real.
Rightfully so. But this movie is probably the first movie that comes to mind when someone asks the question, what is the greatest war movie?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, at least for me, this would definitely cross my mind at first.
Yeah, for sure. Because I mean, there's a lot of good war movies,
Yeah.
but Saving Private Ryan is just known for how realistic it is,
Right.
and it's just the way it's shot, and the acting, and its violence.
It's just like peak performance of
It is.
everything.
Like it really captures war very well. And I mean, that's why they had the whole hotline set up for people who got like PTSD, like veterans who went and saw the movie and they got PTSD from it. They had a hotline. So I mean, you could tell that.
Right.
I mean, if you're giving a veteran PTSD, it's doing something right with its realism.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's like a good way to look at it. Of something that's like bad happening.
Yeah,
You
I mean,
obviously
it's bad that they're getting
you don't
PTSD
want
from it.
You
Yeah.
obviously don't want any veterans to have PTSD from a movie of yours. But then, of course, those same veterans come back and were telling Steven Spielberg, like, "Hey, you hit it, the nail
Yeah.
on the head. This is the most accurate war movie that we've ever seen." And like, especially for like by 1998, there were a lot of war movies already. I mean, you have like Apocalypse Now, you have.
Mhm.
Full Metal Jacket. You have all these, and at that point, he had a lot to live up to, pretty much, and he definitely did. So no, he did great.
Yeah.
Spielberg making this, of course, he couldn't have done it alone without the amazing portrayal of Captain John Miller by Tom Hanks, everybody in this movie acting supreme job.
Right.
So anyway, what are your personal thoughts in a nutshell?
Well, I very much like the movie. This is, I think, maybe one of the first R movies I ever saw. Just because
Nice,
me and my brother, we were very much into like military stuff when we were younger, and so my dad, he was always like, "Well, if you're into the military, let's see. Let's show you what it's really like, or kind of like an idea of what it's really like, other than some of like the dramatized movies or video games that I always played." And yeah, so he showed us this movie, and I was just like, "This is crazy, but also really cool." So I watched it so many times when I was younger, just because I thought it was a really good movie.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, rightfully so.
Because there's so much cool stuff that happens. Well, it's like cool, but
Yeah,
it's just
I mean, especially as like a young kid, the opening shot, of course, is you see an old man walking through. You're like, okay, and then it goes from an old man to
it's just absolute
D-Day,
chaos.
like literal D-Day, like at.
It's like, what a transition.
Yeah, I mean, it really is. And you see guys with their guts hanging out and calling for the mamas. And I'm sure as like a little kid, that was like, whoa, 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 whoa.
It was a little jarring for me as a young boy to be like, oh my God.
Yeah. Jarring, good word there. That sums it up. But no, I think this movie is pretty much a masterpiece, if I do say so.
I mean, because everything from acting to the writing, to the cinematography, to the
Editing,
score.
The score, amazing.
John Williams spitting straight fire.
He, as always, it wasn't like Star Wars, but it was definitely.
Yeah, it's not like Star
You could
Wars,
definitely listen,
but
hear
it
something.
feels like heroic music.
Yeah,
and it's like the music always works.
And it's like
fits.
With heroic and like very American patriotic. It's like, oh, that sounds like American military. Like it had like influence from like the American military, like themes and all the different branches.
It feels like World War II music.
That too.
Like, you know what I mean?
I mean, like we live near a World War II museum, and you walk through, and the soundtrack of this movie is the score is being played.
Oh, on the loudspeakers.
pretty much.
Yeah.
You're walking through. It's like okay. Every time Captain America comes on, comes up like in all the Marvel movies, it's like it's music that sounds just like this. With like the little trumpets and stuff.
I wonder if this kind of like. Well, I'm sure other movies probably did it too.
Yeah,
I imagine.
True.
I was just kind of wondering if like maybe this movie sort of set that up.
I can't tell if this is an original score.
I mean, it is original because it's by John Williams.
Yeah, true. I mean, like.
Or do you mean like the sound?
I mean, like the sound and like.
I get what you mean.
Yeah, I can't remember because there's a lot of those war movies I haven't watched. I think we should maybe do like a podcast where, like an episode where we name all the movies that we have not seen and that we really need to watch. And then that's probably why people should email us. Like, have you seen this? And it's like, yes, no. So I think we should do that. But anyhow, so yeah, this movie is definitely a masterpiece. So how about a synopsis?
Oh, for sure. Let me whip that out real quick.
There you go.
Captain John Miller, played by Tom Hanks, takes his men behind enemy lines to find Private James Ryan, whose 3 brothers have been killed in combat. Surrounded by the brutal realities of war, while searching for Ryan, each man embarks upon a personal journey and discovers their own strengths to triumph over an uncertain future with honor, decency, and courage. Courage.
I love it. This has to be one of the greatest openings in cinematic history. I mean,
it is iconic.
It is iconic
because of just like the impression it leaves and like kind of sets the whole tone and atmosphere of the movie just right off the bat.
And by opening, I mean not with the older gentleman and his family walking through the park to go to this memorial, but I mean the D-Day opening.
Scene, yeah.
And I remember my dad watching it when I was little. That was like before I watched it when I was a little older, because obviously like I was kind of like I think I had to get out or something like that. But I do remember like seeing the guys vomiting and being like, oh, what?
Yeah, seasick. Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's true. Like these guys, even when I was young, I was like, these guys are about to go into battle. It makes sense that they would be so nervous and they're like in a boat, they're seasick. It's just a little bit of everything. And even like when I was young, I could see like the stress and the anxiety on these guys' faces because they're about to possibly be killed.
And actually, but I want to bring up something about the old man scene, like just right before it kind of does the whole fade to. I'm just gonna use this to bring up a movie term
Yeah,
called red herring.
red herring.
And for those, let me pull the definition just to make sure I'm not mistaken with this.
Yeah, true, true.
But so a red herring is something, especially a clue, that is or is intended to be misleading or distracting. So what happens that I noticed with this movie is at the very beginning it shows the old guy, right, and his family, and then it cuts, it like fades from the old man's face to Tom Hanks' face, leaving the
Hmm.
idea that Tom Hanks is gonna like survive the movie
Oh,
because it makes you believe that they're the same person, and so
yeah.
it's misleading,
I definitely thought
which
that.
is which is interesting because like that's what happened the first time I watched it. I was like, oh, that's got to be Tom Hanks, so I guess he survives the thing.
Right.
And it's a good example of red herring if you ever want to use that in like a movie or something like that you're making,
Or, if you catch something,
or
it's
if you
like,
catch
ha,
something like that.
that's a red herring. Wow.
Yeah.
Basic.
So terms for you.
Yeah, learn something new every day, right?
Bowtie Movie Lounge. You'll learn new
You
things.
learn something, even if we're professional or not. But yeah, no, that is
Exactly.
definitely an idea or a thought that had occurred to me way before. Where I was the whole time like, okay, there's no way Tom Hanks can die
Mm-hmm.
because obviously he's at the beginning of this movie. Even though it wasn't like a direct like when I went back to like rewatch it and stuff, I was like, okay, there wasn't like that transition from his eyes straight to Tom Hanks' eyes like I remember. So it wasn't like the movie lied to you, but it kind of had you trick yourself
Mm-hmm.
into thinking like that is Captain John Miller. I want to say John Williams, but no, that is
Captain John
Captain John
Williams.
Miller. But then, of course, in the end, you find out that it's Private Ryan.
Yeah.
But so yeah, so well, I was about to say spoiler alert, but
After the spoiler.
after the spoiler and after you click on like
But
the
I mean,
Saving Private Ryan
by
podcast.
now that movie came out like
Yeah,
20
19
years
yeah,
ago,
like 24 years ago.
something like
Yeah.
that. Like so.
Yeah. So yeah, so
I
get
don't
back
think
on
I don't
track.
think you could spoil
Yeah,
that one.
I shouldn't be able to spoil. I should be able to spoil it if 'cause what are you doing with your life?
If you haven't seen it already.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, no, that the red herring thing is a cool thing to bring up because that pretty much is, I think, what happened to a lot of people. Just the
Because Tom
natural
Hanks
assumption.
is a big name. It's
Yeah,
like, and then you saw the old guy, and you're like, he probably survives.
yeah. It's like who is that guy? And it's obviously a flashback,
Mm-hmm.
but because he's wearing '90s golf clothes, and it cuts to obviously 1944. But yeah. So, but no, like the D-Day landing uh, at Normandy. That's Normandy, right?
Yep.
Omaha. Yeah. Okay. So right there in Normandy, just brutal,
Oh, for
right
sure.
off the bat, and like obviously not refraining from, like, okay, so we gotta tone this down for young eyes and
Nope.
stuff. They're like, okay, no, we're gonna,
They're like, this movie's gonna be ours, so we're gonna send it.
yeah.
Like they're not
I'm
holding
I'm
back.
sure maybe Spielberg was kind of like, let's give some veterans some PTSD. You know, it may have been something kind of like that.
He might have been trying.
He
I
may
mean,
have been
because
trying,
it's just brutal.
but he was definitely trying to honor like how brutal it was for these young men to go through,
Yeah,
which
he
is
didn't like
honestly,
sugarcoat it.
yeah, you can't, you're not, it's like,
It's too
it's
difficult.
yeah, and like
Because I mean, it was that brutal.
yeah,
Like
it's almost like spitting on the honor of you know, like making a memory for like what these men had to go through.
mhm.
It's like, all these guys that come back who have PTSD, they're just sissies, pretty much. And so I'm very glad they did not sugarcoat a war film,
They made it as realistic as possible, just because
and also without going overboard with it too. That's
that
one
is
thing I
true.
like. This is it's not like, okay, we're gonna zoom in on this dude who's like in pain and agony. We are gonna have, I think the shaky cam had a lot to do with that too, where like with the shaky cam you feel like you're right there in it,
Yeah, it
but
feels
it's also
grounded.
not romanticizing the pain and agony
Hmm.
of it. Yeah, nothing was really romanticized in it. It was more like, this is how it is. This is how you're gonna see it.
It's like they're just trying to survive and get off the beach. And
Right.
like many people didn't make it.
Right, because I feel like it would have been a little disrespectful, is a word I should have been using earlier, than having to go down a whole rabbit trail. But yeah, no, it's I feel like if it was like doing close ups and just honing in on a guy whose guts are hanging out, just being like, look, I want y'all to look at this. It would have been like romanticizing the gore and the like just the agony that
Mhm.
comes within war. So I'm glad they didn't do that. But yeah. So I mean, but
It's like right off the
the
bat.
the guts hanging out, I'd say guts like that guy has his intestines, and that one dude is walking around looking for his arm to pick
Yep.
up. You know,
It's because they're all in like shell shock.
yeah.
Because bombs are going off all over the place, and shell shock is a real thing.
No, it
Because
definitely is.
it's like in the movie, you see it, the way it's kind of portrayed is Tom Hanks is like what they're just like looking around with the ringing, and it's just like
Yeah.
taking in what the heck is going on. And it's just all these dudes are getting blown up because there's the guy with the flame thrower
Oh
who
yeah,
gets
those
blown
guys
up with the
around
two
him.
dudes next to him. Guys like people who don't have legs,
Yeah.
missing arms, like the guy walking around. It's just like what is happening?
All the effects are great and really sold it too.
It sells like the chaos of war.
It does. And it does an amazing job at it. And it's like scary good. I just man, what a powerful scene.
Mm-hmm.
Like just
It's
the
like the
opening and then like you said with Tom Hanks looking around and being like, "Okay, this is all happening."
mm-hmm. Like he's taking in like this is what's like what is going on. Like it's just you're just seeing these different images of war of people just getting
Mhm.
slaughtered basically on the beach,
Yeah.
and it's terrifying.
It is terrifying. But yeah, no, they still didn't shy away from showing you. Just did a good job without romanticizing it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no.
And I
Have
definitely
you?
think the cinematography helped a lot with having the shaky cam, making the audience feel grounded
Right,
and like because anytime there's ever any action in the movie, the camera's like all over the place.
right.
It just
Which
makes it feel gritty and realistic. It helps kind of build it.
which sometimes it did get a little too shaky to where I couldn't tell what was going on. There was a little bit of that, but it still like you could feel like did such a great job with making you feel there, and especially whenever like the camera like dove into the water.
Yeah.
Like that was actually really cool looking, like where it looked like it just dove in, and then of course it's underwater and it's made a lot of things where you don't. It's like, oh, I didn't even realize that all these people, these guys' gear is like drowning them.
Yeah.
Like one dude does drown, and it shows them all like having to take it off super quickly, and then like you're like, oh, that's right, bullets can hit the water, and once they do, it's just like they go all over the place, and then it could kill the guys even underwater. It's just everything just happens quickly, and it throws you right in and makes you realize things you didn't think about.
And one thing I do like also about this whole sequence that they have with the beach landing is that it would sometimes occasionally swap to the Germans like POV.
Mm-hmm.
Like you see them shooting at them in the bunkers and how it looks. Just because
Right.
like you
From an
might be ever
opposite
imagining like
perspective.
what would that be like to just shoot at all these dudes coming at you, and then they
Right.
do that, and you just see like all these little dudes.
Yeah.
It just like
So it's like you're right in there with the guys storming the beach, and then you're right there with the guys defending the beach.
you see both sides, but it's honestly kind of like I might use this a lot scary
Yeah.
because
No,
I mean kind of
it
like
is.
imagine being the dudes
Yeah.
that are shooting at the guys on the beach.
Yeah,
Like the
you're
Germans shooting at the Americans. Like it's just you're just like, dang, that's brutal.
yeah, you get an opposite perspective, may not get like the mindset that
Yeah, you might not get
each one
mine.
gets, but you're gaining so much like of a respect for what each side especially had to go through.
Mhm.
Even if like you're not a Nazi shooting down, the Allies like on the beach, it's still like, man, like that's still got to be tough. That's got to be tough to be just mowing down these guys.
It's just like you could also see how much of a slaughter it basically was.
Yeah,
Like storming Omaha. Like that was just guys were sent and they just got shot like mowed down by the MG-42s because I mean that gun was insane.
right. And then of course like the whole mission, and then you get to see Captain Miller's perspective of like he's trying to like survive while at the same time having all these guys like
Look
just
up to him.
throwing questions at him left and right. Like,
Mhm.
what do we do? and then he's like dragging half of a corpse, and just like the stress and like just everything going on emotionally for him. And Tom Hanks does such a great job of displaying that too. And you just get a little bit of everything.
Yeah, I mean, like Tom Hanks's character is like Captain Miller.
Yeah,
He's just like a leader. That dude
yeah,
is a leader
he is
because
definitely.
he's got the chaos of war, especially the landing. All the guys, as you said, asking him questions like, "What do we do now? Like, we're
Yeah,
here on the beach. They're like, where do we go?"
right.
And so everybody's looking up to him to make the quick decisions to help them survive. And and he, even with being in shell shock, kind of like what is going on right now,
Right.
he still is managing to overcome, I guess, the fear of the chaos. And he's
Hmm.
like, I need to lead my men and get them to safety.
Like I got to do what I have to do next.
Mm-hmm.
But still, he's still like, what do I do next? But then he does manage
He's
like
got
you do get to see like his leadership skills and where he's like,
the
okay, we do
quick
this next.
decisiveness to make good plans.
Yeah. So you all automatically trust his character.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, okay, we're gonna be following this guy.
And like that's why this guy's captain.
Yeah, exactly.
That's why he's the leader.
So yeah, no, then they actually take the trenches or like the I guess the rat holes.
To get to the seawall.
Yeah, the seawall,
That was like the big sand
the big
wall
dune,
that
and like they have like all the MG
the guys like lean up on the things. Wait, what are you talking about?
like whenever they're actually like getting up there and like
Oh, to the bunkers?
yeah. I was just kind of like trying to push through.
Oh, sorry, never mind.
Yeah, no,
Okay. I'm here. I'm here.
yeah, yeah. Well, like, well, yeah. Once they get up to there, they're like, okay, we got these guys. Like they're on like a 50 caliber, like whatever they has.
MG42.
Yeah, MG42. That's it. I almost said MG40, but I was like, I'm not even gonna try to do all the models because I I am definitely not as historically accurate with like the names and everything as the
Yeah.
movie is. So I'm not even gonna try. Just I'm gonna throw that out there as a warning. I don't need a lot of harassment over that. But yeah, no. Especially like in those scenes, you're starting to get to know some of these characters a little more, especially as like rewatching it. Like, okay, I know that guy, like I recognize him, and then but you still get to see some of like the way these guys are handling everything, and like how much they're going through with each other, and how like they're building as like a little bit of a team and a
Mm-hmm.
platoon. But yeah, and then it's still like just dramatic, like it's just violence after violence. It gets crazier and crazier.
Yeah.
But
Because like once they get off the beach, then they have all the bunkers and the trenches and like the whole bunker area that they got to get through now. So it's
right,
like the beach was just one part. Now you're on to the next part. So you had the whole massacre on the beach basically.
right. It's
Now
just
they got to keep going.
never ending. Nothing stops in it,
Mm-mm.
especially in this first 30 minutes of this movie. But yeah, then once they get to like that one bunker and they just like blow the whole thing up with
With the flamethrower.
flamethrowers,
Yep.
like that's a cool scene. Well, like it's cool, but like I wonder how they actually like did that. Like those stuntsmen who are crawling out of there like on fire and stuff. Like that's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But then like I always wondered. I don't know why I've always missed until today where I watched it, where there's like that whole long shot of like the beach and like the red waves coming in.
Yeah, the blood.
Yeah, I was just trying to make it sound a little dramatic.
Oh,
But anyway,
gotcha. My man.
the blood. Yeah, no. But no. As it's like going over and like the score is like there, and it's just like it's a real somber moment. It's like showing like all the corpses, and then it hones in on a backpack.
Yeah, Ryan.
Yeah, it just says S. Ryan. I didn't notice the name until today for some reason.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah, but then I was like, okay, I know what this is about already, and I know the whole plot, and that's where like the plot of the movie unfolds right there, where it's like, okay, I know the name of this movie is like is like Saving Private Ryan, so like there's a Ryan right there. So what does this have to do? And so that's where like like there's a whole thing of people writing letters. That's also an interesting scene where like it goes to that whole floor of people taking telegraphs and writing the letters from all these leaders who are reporting back to the families of their dead comrades.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just still like, man, that's right. It's like a little bit of a reminder, like these are people who are dying. They're not just numbers. They're not like objects. These are men and like they're either husbands, their sons, nephews, whatever, and not whatever, but you know what I mean. But I need I needed to watch that. But so then that's where the whole plot unfolds a little slowly, and it's like okay, three of four brothers are dead, and they're all like Ryan. So like it's like okay, so that's what's going on, and then that's where they all talk. There's like they go out to the mom, and it's like okay, there's one more son, and we need to get him back,
Hmm.
because just we don't want to leave this mom without anybody. As we were talking about earlier, like the Sullivan brothers, which we do need to watch that movie
Yeah, we
eventually.
do.
I don't know if like review it because like not a whole lot of people have seen it, but I do suggest that movie if you haven't like seen it. It's called The Fighting Sullivans. Came out in like the 50s, maybe 60s. It's definitely black and white, but it's super good. It's kind of like how that really like influenced this movie because in that movie, five brothers. It's like that's what it is. It's just a family of five brothers. All of them go like into the navy or something, and they all die. And so now the parents are left with like nobody, except for one of the brothers' like wives and his child.
Hmm.
So it's kind of like that's where like okay, we don't want all these siblings to die on especially a single mom like that. Um, so yeah, I forgot where I was going with
Well, that's
that,
just kind
but
of how you're introduced to the whole
how's I
plot of
guess
what's going to
introducing the
happen.
whole plot. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the whole plot of the movie.
And then we're
So now it's pretty straightforward, a very
because
straightforward
once
plot.
that gets mentioned that they want to bring the son back because his brothers died, you go
Yeah,
back to the beaches where Captain Miller and his squad is at, and that's whenever Captain Miller is given the orders to go find Private Ryan and bring him back,
right.
so they can bring him back to his.
Which makes it a very easy movie to follow because after that you're like, okay, this is what's happening. Maybe a little kind of hard to figure out sometimes. Like I guess for maybe some people, it's like, okay, what's so they're going to find a person just to bring back to his mom, and it's like, yeah. But once you get that, you're like, okay, now all I'm doing is following what
Like their
Captain John
journey.
Miller and his platoon. I now I just get to follow them. I'm not sitting here like, oh, so like that changes the plot and stuff. It's a very straightforward
Yeah,
plot.
no, nothing really changes the plot. The only thing that ever changes is just kind of like their location.
Right, their location and like there is like a little bit of almost a twist and like a false, like oh they found him,
Oh
and it's
yeah, yeah,
not,
yeah, right.
which is like a really great scene. I love that one.
It's very funny.
But yeah, no. So they find this. They've stormed Normandy at this point, and so now you get to see where some people like dropped in and came from behind, I guess,
The
or
airborne.
yeah, people came like a little late, and then John Miller he walks up and he sees them almost living in luxury after going through all of that. He's like, oh wow, no, like that's gotta be tough to like see that, and he's like fighting the urge to like hey, why am I not getting this? And then that's where uh that one guy, I forget like the character, but he's like all right, yeah, we actually have another mission for you, is to like go and find
Right.
some random
Yeah.
guy who just take back to his mom. And so now he has to figure out, get his whole platoon together, and that's another part where you get to see like all of them together. They're already pretty close,
Hmm.
and so you're like, okay, so this is gonna be kind of easy. Just they're already together now. Like I have to get to know them, and so he brings in Upham to be his translator because all of his translators died. So now you're along with him, getting to know the rest of them.
Yeah, it's interesting the way that you could kind of tell how he sticks out like a
Yeah.
sore thumb almost. Because once Upman, Upham kind of joins their group and they start walking around, like especially in this like one scene where they're on like the tall grass or whatever. They're just
Mm-hmm.
walking through a grassy field, just kind of like sitting there, and they're all kind of like teasing him almost,
Yeah.
just
No,
because
they're
he's like the
really
new
making
guy.
fun of him.
Yeah.
They're really grilling him. Which a fun like fact is that they all trained, of course, in the same boot camp for like a week.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, all together. Except no, wait, I don't think Upham did. I didn't see where like Upham didn't. like that actor. But no, no.
I mean, he
Matt,
might
I meant,
not
I meant Matt
have. They
Damon.
might have done that just like
Yeah,
just for since he
that'd be
has to like be different from everybody else because
right.
he's like the new guy.
He definitely is different than all of them. He
So I
definitely
mean,
is.
they might have left him out on that just to,
Yeah, yeah. No, I should have definitely double checked on that. I just saw where Matt Damon did. I was called it a day, but I definitely feel like he would. He as an actor, they would have excluded him from that group in boot camp.
just to add some kind of difference between him
Right.
and the
Because they
others.
also did a really good job with that, where they did all feel tight knit
Mm.
together, and he was having to kind of nudge himself in real awkwardly. And so I guess you're kind of like associating yourself with his character. So you're kind of set up. You're kind of like, okay, that's what I would be like if I was thrown into a random platoon who's already tight knit.
And he's not very combat trained at all. Like you can also see just how unorganized Upham is.
Yeah.
Because he's like trying to figure out what to bring. He's trying to bring like his typewriter, his helmet. He's got like carrying all this stuff and he's like dropping everything.
Yeah.
It's just how unorganized he is and that he's just totally not prepared.
And then Captain Miller is like offhandedly funny. He's like, "Do I bring my typewriter, sir?" And just like you have.
Yeah, he
It's like, oh wait, good thinking. You do have to like, tighten your belt on this one. Kind of have to use an old-fashioned pencil instead of a typewriter.
his typewriter, trying to carry that through like combat would be a pain in the booty.
Yeah, it really would be.
And it's
More
just kind of like character building.
yeah,
Or not character building, just kind of like setting up who Upham is.
laying the foundation for his character. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're already like, okay, this is me. That's who I would be. But yeah, and then
I feel like he's kind of one of the more relatable characters, even like later in like battles and stuff.
right,
Once like I feel like he'd be a more relatable character to a lot of people.
right. No, he definitely is. So yeah, like after that, then you're just pretty much like, okay, where to next? And they're all like wondering same thing, and you could tell where all these guys already don't like the mission.
Mm-hmm.
And so I
Yeah,
love
because
I love all the little scenes, and that's where you get to know the characters a little more and the whole team as a whole, and like that's where it all happens. But then at one point they get to a small town, and Paul Giamatti comes out of nowhere, and it's like, oh, and then he's like complaining about his old lady ankles.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
I got the ankles of an old woman, and so yeah, no, I love that scene. That's where like that's where he sits down and like knocks down that whole
Yep.
wall. But no, let's see. Wait, that actually happens after that one scene where uh they first enter, they first meet him, and then you get to uh where like that French family. I was trying to remember
Oh
where
yeah,
exactly it
yeah,
was.
yeah.
Such a long movie. I'm trying to like figure out where
Yeah.
everything
There's
is.
a lot of samey looking places almost.
Yeah, there really is. But yeah,
But then again, anytime you ever see any like city or town, it's always like blown up. So
it really is. It's hard to
it's always
distinguish
just
anything.
rubble.
It's like, okay, somewhere in France, I think. That's all
Yeah,
it is.
but they run into the French family and Vin Diesel's character,
Yeah, Caparzo.
Caparzo. Yeah,
Adrian Caparzo.
Adrian Caparzo.
Adrian Caparzo. Yeah.
UFC, Adrian Caparzo. So he's like trying to help the family. He's like,
Like
they
she
got a
reminds
kid.
me of my niece.
He's like, they got a kid. Let's help him. Family.
Family
forever.
It's like my niece, my family.
Reminds me of my
Like,
niece.
it's okay.
That's my family.
I got the charger out back. But yeah, no, he definitely gets screwed on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, so poor guy, but that's still a great scene. And another, it's like, okay, we've seen what war does to soldiers. Now we can get to see, let's throw kids in just a family in general in the mix, where like there's a sniper hanging around this family, and this family's house is just completely blown in half,
Mm-hmm.
and like there's a baby crying, so that elevates things. It's really elevating the situation, especially of
It's
war.
starting to like stress you out with all the different noises because you've got Vin Diesel or Caparzo trying to help the family, and everybody's like, no, this is a waste of time. Let's
Yeah.
get moving. And he's like, but we got to. He's like, it reminds me of my niece. And so he's trying to help him. They're trying to pull him away from doing it. And then you
Right.
got all the yelling and the crying going on in like
Yeah.
the two different languages. So you're listening to like American, And
and
then
then
you got French. The
French.
family's like speaking French, and it's just like, what is happening?
Right. It's literally so many different things that's stressing you out.
The
It's
movie
like
does a great job of that.
with it does it many times.
I know there's so many times where you're just like,
which already like makes you like grab the edge
it's
of the
like you're getting,
table
you're
and you're just
just like, what's about to happen right now? It's like I'm getting so overwhelmed with all the different noises.
exactly.
And then I guess the build up to all that noise and stress happens whenever
Yeah, he gets sniped.
Caparzo gets shot by the sniper.
Right. Which that becomes a cool scene. But yeah, no, you're right about the stress, and then immediately it just drops. Especially he gets shot, everything goes
And the
quiet.
music does a good job with that.
It
Because I'm
does.
pretty, I can't really 100% remember, but I'm pretty sure right as he gets shot, there's like some noise that plays.
Yeah, like something that kind of is just like everyone's like, oh, it happened.
And then, yeah, and then it drops, and the only
Because
thing
he was
you
so
hear.
casual. He's like leaning up. He's like, guys, y'all.
Yeah, he's just talking, then.
It's like he just like drops, and he's sitting there bleeding, trying to call for help, but kind of knowing that he shouldn't get help, but he still is like, I need help. Come on.
He's trying to give him the letter to his mom.
Yeah, it's like so they're or yeah, his dad.
Or his dad.
Yeah, he's like sitting there bleeding out. And he's just like, okay, that's the stress, but like it's also now like the stress shifted, but it's also kind of like you want to get quiet with the movie.
And then like when the action happens, as we said, the music stops and just kind of like everything's dead silent. All you hear is the rain and kind of just like people talking.
Right.
And the rain is really loud. It's like.
And I love that in a movie, especially like when especially if it's well done. I love just rain,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like because that hides one of your senses to be able to detect danger, and so they're not able to hear like any enemies coming around, or like they almost couldn't hear the shot even.
Yeah. And then you get the POV of the German side, and you get to
Mhm.
see where the sniper is in the bell tower or the steeple, or was it the
Yeah.
watchtower? I don't know.
No, one of
Just some elevated
just
area
yeah.
and some tower, and you see what the sniper sees,
You see the crosshairs.
and you can see you're kind of like, and he starts to put the crosshairs back on Vin Diesel or
Mhm.
on Caparzo, like he's about to shoot him. And you're just like, kind of bracing for him to get shot again, but then he doesn't.
Which I wonder why he doesn't.
Probably because throughout the whole movie, there's always this struggle with morality
Yeah, that
and
is
to do the right thing. Because a lot of the times the characters are trying to commit like war crimes, basically, like
right.
shooting prisoners. Like even on the beaches, you had some Germans that were surrendering and they just shot them anyway.
Yeah, which is
Or-
pretty interesting. I read where those were
that's against the law.
Yeah.
Well, was Geneva Convention? Geneva Convention wasn't a thing yet.
okay. It wasn't yet.
Or some rules like shooting, or maybe, dude, I actually have no idea.
Yeah, well, I know I'm very unfit to talk about that
Because
I'm not.
I think
I'm not very
the
educated.
laws of war were created after World War One, and I don't really know for sure if shooting POW, like a surrendering group of people,
right.
like shooting them was illegal at the moment. I know it is now, but then I'm not too sure.
Right.
I'm gonna assume it probably was illegal to shoot
I mean,
surrendering
even
people.
then, well, people. I guess soldiers had a little bit more morals. I guess back then, and it was still pretty like whoa. Like that's
Because
not. What you do.
like when someone is like
Not saying that
surrendering,
they're
you
not
just
now.
shoot them. It's kind of like, oh, that's messed up.
Right.
Those guys weren't even armed. They were surrendering. You
Yeah.
just shot them.
Well, even then, those guys weren't even German. They were Czech, and so they were speaking Czech, and they were like, we detest the Germans. So those guys, he didn't actually know what he was saying. He was saying, it's like, look, I washed for supper. Yeah, and so yeah, he wasn't. They weren't even German.
No, I actually didn't know that.
Yeah, they were just like, look, we're just brought in because that's what they do. They capture Czech prisoners. That's all I know from looking that up. But yeah, no, back to the
So yeah,
Caparzo.
just back to like another morality thing. It's like he probably just didn't want to shoot him because he was dying. So
Right.
he's like, I'm not just gonna shoot the dude.
Because even the other guys were like, just let him burn. Don't shoot him. Just let him
Yeah, that
burn.
happened. Yeah, that happened.
And so it was probably something kind of like the same mindset. But then I was just a little confused because later on, like I think even right before that, the Germans were just like shooting them, like shooting a corpse. They're like, as long as he's got breath in his lungs, he still carries the message. We'll do the same.
Mhm.
And so it's a lot of like back and forth, like what? But anyway, I do love that shot of like the sniper POV. He's looking, he sees the family, he goes back, and he's like, let me check around. He sees like the guy right around the. He sees a fish right around the.
No, it's not Fish. It was Jackson.
Well,
Barry
no, no.
Pepper's
Well,
character.
he sees fish right around the truck. Because he's right there.
Oh
He's like
yeah.
trying to help him. He's like,
Mhm.
okay, and then he goes to Jackson.
And he
And
sees
you just see
Jackson.
a flash. He's like, and like that's such a cool
Right
shot.
through the scope.
Got him right in the eye.
At that moment, you're just like,
I know that's where you're like,
got him.
yeah. That's where you're like, I like Jackson.
You're like, Jackson just smoked.
I already really love Barry Pepper as like an actor.
Mm-hmm.
I really like him, especially in like Shawshank and stuff. He's great actor, great actor. But then that was like the moment where like I really like his character too now, especially when he's like praying.
Oh yeah, with every shot, he's praying every time.
Yeah, he's praying, and it's just like all of a sudden like he's total badass, you know. And it's like that's always been like something that I loved. And
Mm-hmm.
so he's like, Lord, just help me kill this person. But I've always admired that, and it's just such a cool shot.
Mm-hmm.
And then like that's where everything kind of like the tension and the stress, like, whew, okay,
It's like the threat is
the
gone.
threat is eliminated.
Now I can relax.
Exactly.
And then they go and help Caparzo. I mean,
He's already he
kinda
already died.
Yeah.
But then that's where Wade grabs his letter and he's like, all right, I'm gonna have to rewrite this. But yeah, and then that's where they go, where they're following Paul Giamatti to the 101 Air Battalion, and or at least trying to find the right people. And that's where he like at one point knocks over that wall, and there's all those Germans in there.
I love that scene. That scene's so funny.
That's
so chaotic, man.
It's like, yeah, it is like funny, but it's like, why is it funny? Is it just because it's chaotic? And then
I think it's just funny because the dude sits down and then the wall, and it was just like they were right there,
it was such
and
a
all these
convenience.
guys were right here. It was like
Because you also notice today I noticed where like they that's where they call out thunder, and there's like flash.
oh yeah.
Those guys were literally like in the room right next.
Mm-hmm. And they didn't even know it.
They didn't.
And then
even
the
know
wall
it.
fell down, and then they all started yelling at you like, "Put your gun down!"
And all of a sudden, and like then like all of course like all the Americans, they just dropped, to like get out of fire because the guys above them were like shooting them up,
Mm-hmm.
which it was a very chaotic. It was kind of weird with how little stress there was, at least for me as a viewer.
Yeah, I
was
think
like,
it was kind of just comedic, honestly. Like
Yeah.
it was definitely like it had some stress to it, just because you got all these. Like I feel like that'd be a very stressful moment for
Yeah.
like if that. I'm sure that probably happened at some point in real life, but
Right.
like in a moment like that, to be one of the guys that like you're pointing at these dudes right there, and they're pointing at you,
Right.
and you're just like yelling at each other to put your guns down, and no one's putting anything down because you
Right.
can't understand each other. We're like, ah.
Right. I
It's
know.
like that gotta be stressful, but it's just kind of funny because they were just
It
right
is.
there,
It is. It is offhandedly comedic.
which is I think nice if you think about it like from a movie. Like you're a viewer, you just had this whole stressful moment with Caparzo
Mm-hmm.
and or Caparzo
Yeah, Caparzo.
Caparzo and this whole sniper thing, and it was just this whole stressful moment. And then now you have this that's more of a comedic kind of relief.
Yeah.
So it's not just the whole movie's just stress, to where you're just like, this
Yeah.
movie's too much.
It's
man.
like where it's just like wearing you out,
Mhm.
like almost emotionally.
Yeah.
Because you're already like, okay, we've already seen.
You
We've
had
already
the whole
seen
D-Day,
D-Day.
and you're like, that was stressful. Then you
Yeah.
have this whole sniper thing. You're like, that was stressful.
Yeah, it does pace itself pretty well.
And then they threw in
I-
like a funny moment kind of thing,
Right.
and you're just kind of like,
Just
That's
like,
nice.
Okay.
that was
And then-
refreshing. I
And then like
guess.
all of our guys make it out.
all the good guys, and you're just like, that was refreshing.
Yeah. No. And then
Nobody died. I mean, the bad guys died, but you're kind of always, bad guys died. Woo!
Yeah, it's like, okay, sweet.
Always cheering for the good guys.
Yeah, exactly. But no, that is another thing I would say about this movie is that it's paced pretty well,
Mm-hmm.
and to a
It's
point
not
where
always
it's not wearing you out.
stressful.
It's not one thing after the other, just wearing you out. And I just said that a lot. But
We'll put a wearing out counter in the corner.
we definitely should do that for each podcast. Like, it seems like every time there's a word or there's like a phrase that I say over and over, so we'll have to do that. And I also say all the time. But yeah, no. So after that, that's where they finally meet the 101 Battalion, the Airborne,
Mhm.
and that's where the fake
The fake
Private
Private
Ryan.
Ryan, yeah.
Is Private Frederick Ryan, something like that, or
I think
no,
they had the same
yeah, no,
name.
James Frederick Ryan. He's like,
Frederick
yeah,
Ryan.
he's like James Francis Ryan of Iowa. No, James Frederick Ryan of Minnesota.
I was like, got the wrong guy.
You know who that actor is?
Oh,
It's Nathan Fillion. I like had his name and then I forgot it for a second. Thank
what
God
has
I
he
got
done? I've definitely heard the name Nathan Fillion.
that. He's done a lot of like just random like little stuff, and he's like almost always there. He's the detachable arm man in the new Suicide Squad. Like he has little
Oh, that's so
random
funny. That's
stuff just
right.
out of
Yeah,
nowhere.
yeah.
Like, did you ever watch Big Mouth?
No.
Okay, well, there's like for those who are watching or listening, there's the character. Shoot, what's her name? Like the girl that sounds like this. Is she like that's her crush, Nathan Fillion. That's him.
That's funny.
Yeah, he's like the fake Destiny. He plays Cade. Like
Oh, that's definitely where I've heard Nathan Fillion. That's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
yeah, which is
He also
pretty
plays like Green Lantern in some of the animated DC
wait,
movies.
yeah, I think you're right. Actually,
He plays Green Lantern.
yeah, he does, and he's in another movie that I like. But no, he's done a lot of like random stuff and
A lot of small things.
yeah, a lot of small things, but like stuff where you're like, oh, hey, it's Nathan Fillion, cool. But yeah, that's him. So you have Paul Giamatti, Bryan Cranston,
Just
Nathan Fillion.
A lot of cameos.
Just a lot of random ones. Even a lot where people be like, oh, I recognize that guy
Mhm.
from so and so, especially if you watch like a lot of
I mean, I guess
older
maybe now
movies.
you'd think of them as cameos. Like then, some of those people weren't very known yet.
Right. Some of them weren't. Yeah. I think Nathan Fillion did like some stuff like earlier in the
Probably, yeah.
90s and stuff. But yeah, no, then that's also another like comedic thing where I think it was almost like the backup joke. Where like
True.
they're like if people didn't find this funny of like all the Germans like and the Americans being holding each other at gunpoint right there, they'll definitely find this funny where it's like a whole mix up.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and so now they're
They
like
get the wrong dude.
yeah, so now they're like, all right, I guess we got to go somewhere, find the actual guy now.
And you kind of think like maybe the movie will be done like right there because
Yeah.
they find him. And you're just like, well, that was kind of
It's like-
quick.
yeah, it's like, dude, is the movie over already? It's like not even an hour in,
Mm-hmm.
and you're like, wait, hold up, hold up, hold up. And so I guess it did have to get kind of slightly familiar face to play him. Like I guess that could be Private Ryan, okay. But yeah, no, then it's hilarious when it's like actually not. He's like crying. He's like, well, my brothers are still in grammar school.
Yeah.
And that's where they're like, oh, wait,
We got the wrong guy.
you're from Iowa? No. Oh no, it's great. He's like, oh, good thing I'm fishing. They were too young. It's like, oh my god, they terrified this poor dude.
Yeah. It's like, oh dang.
Yeah, no, it's great. I love that
It's
scene.
a great.
I've
scene.
always loved that scene.
Mhm.
But yeah, no, then after that, shoot, what happens next? And then they like that's when they're back on the road again. You're like, these poor dudes. They just can't get a break.
I'm trying to think about where they went next. Did they go to the church? Like that night scene at the church?
Yeah, they
Was
do
that next?
because they do. Yeah, that's when they're like walking away, and he's asking like the leader of that whole little setup. Like, okay, you got any like at least a 3-star hotel and some clean sheets and stuff. Like, how about a church? You're like, yeah, that'll work. And then that's a very good scene. That's like a key scene to show more of like the squad and how Captain Miller and shoot, what's the other guy? Tom
Oh, the sergeant.
yeah, Sergeant Horvath.
Yeah, Horvath.
Yeah, Sergeant Horvath. And like you could
Technical
tell
Sergeant Mike Horvath.
you could tell where they have like they've been good
Friends,
friends for a while. They've been buddies. And then
Yeah, they're close.
then you could see where Upham's trying to get closer with Tom Hanks, Sergeant Captain Miller, and then everyone else, just the way they talk and communicate with each other, you're able to connect to them a little more. And like when Wade goes on that whole monologue about his mom, and like, I think she just wanted to hear about my day. I don't know why I did it. It's just like, okay, interesting, but
It's just some like character stuff.
it is, yeah. I know. I was like, what's the point of this dude? Is it supposed to be like a
It's kind of just
tearjerker?
showing that I guess maybe they have lives.
And yeah, that's what I've like come to realize. Okay, that's just another thing to show like
It's like
okay,
they're not just like these badasses that have been sent to go and kill and they're like killing all these Germans and everything. It's like they have lives and people wanting them to come back and people waiting for them.
right. Well, these guys are still having thoughts and they're still having these emotions, even in the midst of war.
And then there's one thing I want to point out in this scene, like with Tom Hanks or Captain Miller, is his shaky hand.
Yeah, that's right.
Shaky hand's very important, I think. Um, so what that shaky hand is it's PTSD. It
Yeah.
shows that Captain Miller has PTSD. Oh, I accidentally just hit the table. Hope that didn't like pick that up.
It
But
should be good. I
oh right, yeah, yeah.
have the fancy setup for you, man.
Oh yeah,
Oh yeah.
living life of luxury. But so the shaky hand is like it shows that he has PTSD,
Right.
and I'm gonna assume it's probably from the beach.
Yeah,
'Cause I don't.
he did say it started when because they had been dropped at other places. He was like, how long has that been going? I was like, oh, back when we dropped somewhere that was not at Normandy. I forget where
Okay.
exactly.
But so with that being said, with his PTSD, one thing that shows the leadership of Captain Miller is that he's able to, so it's like you see his handshake and everybody kind of looks at it. It happens multiple times in the movie,
Hmm.
how people notice his hand and either
Right.
they're looking at it or ask about it.
There's definitely a bigger scene much later
Mhm.
on.
But the fact that he's able to, he like has his shaking hand and he's got PTSD, he like stops it and takes control of it and he's able to lead his men. So it's like even though he's got like struggles, like his own thing, he's got people he's got to look out for. And so it
Yeah.
shows like his leadership traits, like the Captain Miller's leadership,
Right.
as he's able to take control of his own fear, as I said before, back on the beach and lead his men to where he needs to go, like where they
Right.
need to be, to like get them to safety.
Yeah. It's definitely like somewhat of an implication that he may be a little scared in that moment about the future.
But he's got to put it aside to
Right.
make sure that his men are safe as well.
I think that's what it definitely plays into in that later scene.
Mm-hmm.
But no, that I think that is it's definitely a setup to be like, okay, so this guy does have a tendency to shake his hand.
I mean, it leaves the audience like super curious, like what
Yeah.
is going on? Like why does his hand keep doing that?
Right. And then that is where like he and Sergeant Horvath start talking, and it's like okay, this is brought up, and his mind is taken off of it, and he's doing better now. So yeah, so it's definitely something that you have to like saying like okay, look out for this.
Mm-hmm.
This is kind of important, and it's almost like the shake is almost like its character. It's I forget the term for like an object almost that kind of helps drive the story a little bit. Almost like the Maltese Falcon. I forget the name. I'll remember it later on, especially after we cut and stuff. I'll be like, oh, that's what it is. But it definitely is something that's like, okay, focus on that. But this is also another a good scene where you get to see his leadership amongst the other guys too, especially how he's kind of taking in Upham too,
Mm-hmm.
where Upham talks to him. He's like, hey, so where are you from? It shows that Upham he just wants to. He's really trying hard to get to know these guys, and then Captain Miller is also one that's not like push him aside.
Yeah.
And it's like
He
oh
takes everybody that he's over, just like he takes them very seriously.
yeah, it takes him into consideration.
And he wants to like kind of know who he's working with here.
Mhm.
Like that'd be important to know.
Right, it would.
You
That's
know?
where he really. It is in a comedic way too, where he's like, "Well, what's the pull on me?"
Oh
And
yeah,
it's like,
yeah.
how much is it? How much is everyone thrown in just to figure it out? And so he's like, "Well, wait till it gets to 500, and we'll split it." But then that also is another important part where he's like, well, what if we don't make it that far because Upham was like, what about 1,000? I think it should be 1,000. And that's where Captain Miller's like, well, what if we don't make it that far? And that's where it's like, oh shoot, he's even thinking like, what if we die?
I mean, because I feel like that's very realistic for
Yeah,
anybody.
it is.
Because they're like, what if we don't make it like the next day, the next 24
Right.
hours?
Even though he's a leader, he still has these thoughts along with
He's
his
human.
men. It's like, okay, we may die. So it's just it's all very it's just a lot of good depth on his character and the rest of the platoon.
Yeah.
Especially when he's cutting up and the other guys are like, how can they laugh in this moment? We're all having to sleep for just not even 3 hours till we have to move back out. And they're over here laughing. And they start talking. And it's just a lot going on between them. And then Wade's writing Caparzo's letter. He's copying that. Can't remember if he's even writing his own letter, like you pointed out at one point that Wade, the medic, is writing his own letter,
Oh
pretty much
yeah.
saying like, "I may die."
Yeah.
So
One thing that I kind of noticed with movies is whenever someone writes a letter, that usually kind of indicates they're about to die.
right,
Because it was also like this thing. I remember one time I watched this documentary, but I won't get too much into that. But it was just like a letter almost indicates like you're giving up.
right,
It's like I can't keep doing this. I'm gonna write a letter just to make sure that when I die, they kind of like when I die rather than if I die,
right,
then they'll at least have something that I can tell like my family or something like that. So I've noticed a lot more movies when somebody writes a letter, they usually end up dying.
right. That is a
Almost
good.
like foreshadowing.
It is a lot of good foreshadowing, and it's especially like that his whole monologue too. Is also like why didn't I, you know, why didn't I tell my mom how my day went
Yeah,
and
the
stuff.
regret and whatnot.
Yeah, it's when you see his scene of regret, it's like, oh, this may not be good for his character, kind of, and the way he's like taking everything. But yeah, Giovanni Ribsini, he did really good. I think I pronounced his name right, but
What's your name?
I think his name is Giovanni Ribsini. I think I just butchered his name, but it is definitely not a very
Giovanni Ribisi.
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 Huh. Okay.
Ribisi. I don't know.
I know he's in Avatar.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
He is. That's probably the only other thing, but he's good. I like him.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's a good scene. And then of course, like, it's like a shot of Captain Miller, and then it's just like the background of just war happening at night, way off in the distance, and you just see like all the cannon fire and stuff.
Yeah, the flashes.
Yeah, all the
on background,
flashes,
yeah.
and it's like a cool shot of them walking around, and then that's when they come up. I think to that radar station.
Did I make it that one? Yeah.
Am I missing a part?
Yeah. You are. Because remember they ended up at that plane crash with they're searching through the dog tags.
Yeah. That's what happens next.
They go there next.
That and which is weird. I just thought about that like a few minutes ago. But yeah, they do go to that plane crash, and it's like because they find out. No, not yet. But they're like, okay, so that's where. Find out somewhere where like that's where they landed.
Like that's where an airborne group is.
Right, that guy with
which
the broken foot.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, that I was with them. Like, how'd you end up way out here? Like, we all scattered, but everyone else is over there. So that's where they go. That's right. They find out the town, so they're making their way to that town. That's where their rally point was. So they know to make that, but they meet up with that other base, that other little camp, with like like all the wounded soldiers and stuff, and the whole plane crash, and
because that was
everyone
the rally
coming
point
through
for the airborne. Like that little area was a rally point
right
for the airborne group. But since they're looking for, Ryan, they start siphoning, like going through
all those
bag of dog tags just to see if they found
tags.
the dead guy, if he's dead or not.
Yeah, that's another cool scene where they're just going through, and it's even said, and they're going through them like poker chips. And they're just like okay,
everybody around
they're like making fun almost, like, oh man, they're not even bulletproof. That's a shame because they have like bullet holes right through the dog tags, and they're just like almost playing with these dog tags, which insinuates that each of these dog tags represents a dead guy,
and like somebody who died in combat, and they're kind of, dang, I did it again.
Yeah, that's a good.
And they just keep they're just treating it like it's nothing.
Right.
And it's like these are the lives of somebody who just lost, and so that's why it's kind of like a tough moment because all the guys that are walking by are just looking at him.
Yeah, it has all these close-ups of them
as they're just like playing with the dog tags.
Right, and that's where Wade comes in, the medic. He's like, guys, these aren't poker chips. You got the whole airborne squad looking at us. That's where they're like, oh shoot, we messed up.
And then they like start to feel bad for what they were doing.
Right, and then like there's that whole foobar scene, which is fine. And they're like messing with with Upham there, and like they have that whole they get to find out, and it's another scene where it's just like honing in on how tragic war is, and what all happens. Like that one pilot who's like, yeah, I got away without a scratch, but took my pilot's head clean off, and it's just some really like graphic stuff, and you just like see all the guys who are just dying left and right under that tent, and all the wounded men,
Mm-hmm.
and then of course you have all those German POWs being taken, being escorted down, passing through, and that's where they find intel on Ryan, where that one dude who like lost his hearing.
With the grenade that went off right next to his head.
Yeah, he's like James Francis Ryan,
which is also another funny kind of scene.
It is. It's funny, but it's also like sad. It's like, oh wow,
Dude
man,
lost his hearing.
this dude
He's
lost
like,
his hearing.
Read the paper. Read the paper.
Yeah, yeah. Everything Tom Hanks was like saying, he was like, read it. Thank you. Read it. Like, yeah, that was our rally point, And he definitely sounded like a '50s, like a dude like from the '40s and '50s. Like, yeah, we were from the rally point. And you're like, but the grenade blew up. And so yeah, it's no, that's where he was like, okay, they have a lead. We're moving on with the story. Cool. And the movie does have little moments where they stop and like okay, we're either trying to add to the story and like where it's gonna go next. We're trying to like build up to that, and then bam, like it has like something chaotic or like something like with combat happens.
Because
It's
like
just
right after they get the intel, they move out. They
yeah,
get
it's like a little bit of a pattern happens.
It's
Where
like a break, action, break, action,
yeah,
break, action.
it's like very well done. Even if some of the scenes are a little longer than the others, still really well done.
Because they come up now after they get the intel, they come up again upon like the MG-42 nest.
Yeah,
with like the machine gunner and whatnot.
At at the radar station.
At the radar station.
Yeah, which that's this like that is kind of like a scene that's kind of half and half between what we were just talking about, where it's slow and it's quick. Like at one point, it's just like super quick. You're just thrown right in. It's like, okay, these guys are just rushing, and you're almost watching that from a distance.
Mm-hmm.
That's one. Well,
and that little battle scene with the machine gun nest at the radar station, you kind of are watching it from a distance because Upham is hiding kind of like behind the cow, just watching everything through the little scope.
Right. Like everything was happening. It was almost like Captain Miller was like, okay, you do this, you do that, right? Break. And it's like, okay, wait, well, who's doing what?
Everybody just knew what they were doing.
But then you also get to see like a lot of what everyone's feeling. And I guess we've kind of passed up on this a little bit, where like you get to see pieces and pieces of like where Ryben, especially, the guy looks like Ben Affleck. He's like frick Ryan, and just like the whole time it's just like it's like, okay, he definitely doesn't like what's going on.
Yeah, he doesn't like that.
He's like the dude from Brooklyn who just it's like that's what you know him as, like just the dude from Brooklyn who doesn't like what's going on, not happy with everything that's happening, and what he's being brought into, voicing his opinion. I like that whole scene before where they're talking about griping, and especially Jackson. Like, sir, may I gripe to you? Like, yeah, go right ahead. Like, well, I see it. I think God made me a weapon of mass destruction.
Yeah.
Or yeah, weapon of mass destruction, fine instrument of killing. And I just don't think this is right, sir. He's like, well, see, this is how he gripe. This Ryman. But no, I love that scene. That's actually one of my favorite quotes. Spoiler alert. But but yeah, no, that whole scene where it's like, okay, the rest of these guys don't like what's happening. They're like, yeah, I think this is a waste of time.
Yeah, it's like an unnecessary risk.
It's like a battle of morals too, where like they're like, look, we'll let the next guys handle it. He's like, yeah, well, what if the next guys are ambushed by him? We at least can see that they're all up there. Why don't we just take them out since we're here?
Yeah, Captain Miller's not wanting to leave it for the next people to get killed.
Yeah, he's not gonna leave it up to be cleaned by other guys, which is really cool. And it's also one like a time where you're just like, okay, what would I do? Whose side would I be on if I was like in that platoon? Which I really like. But yeah, no, I love the before scene of that. And then, of course, that whole thing goes down, and they immediately start yelling after everything's gone. They won that battle pretty quickly, in my opinion. They're like, wow, they
Yeah,
just stormed.
they all knew what to do. They just
Yeah,
kind of went up there.
and you just see like someone throw a grenade, and the grenade is thrown back, and it blows up right where they were. You're like, oh, I think that something happened.
Yeah, it's like, did somebody just get hit?
Yeah. And so it comes to find out it was Wade, who we were just talking about. Giovanni Ribisi.
Maybe.
Is it Giovanni or Giovanni?
I think it's Giovanni.
Giovanni?
Giovanni.
Almost like the yogurt or something?
Yeah, it's Giovanni.
Giovanni?
Giovanni.
V as in Vector?
Yes.
Nice. Cool.
V as in Vector.
V as in Vector.
No B's.
Yeah, no B. No B as in Bravo.
No.
I know the whole tactical alphabet. I'm pretty cool.
I don't.
We'll have a separate podcast just for me doing that.
Sounds good.
But yeah, no, yeah, so you see where it's obviously him.
And it's really unfortunate that it's him because he's the medic.
He is the medic, and
he's the one with all the expertise and how to keep everybody alive, and he's the one that just got killed.
And I love where the movie does where it's one thing after another where you're like, oh wow, like that's right. That can happen. That is an inconvenience. This is something that happens where these guys are now having to keep the medic alive after he's been keeping everyone else alive,
I also do like that, the squad members kind of keep getting killed off almost. Yeah. Just because it shows that they're not invincible.
Yeah.
Because a lot of action movies or war movies, it's like the main group of characters stay alive like the whole time.
Yeah.
Which is unrealistic.
They're all the old guys at the beginning.
Yes.
And
it's like, because, in war, anybody, it doesn't matter like how smart you are, what your size is, it doesn't matter. Like anybody can just get killed like that.
Right.
Like it's just like an instant.
I do like that too.
And so I just feel like it's more realistic and adds more to the.
Especially right off the bat, Vin Diesel dies.
Yeah.
It's like bam.
It's like Vin Diesel.
Dom, you died. It's like the Iron Giant dies. Man, Groot. He couldn't roll up into a ball. But yeah, no, I do like that. And then that is a rough scene, one that I think anyone would remember, and where like I definitely remember like the mom, want to go home, and like all it's just like, whoa, man, like I'm a full grown man out in the field, at least he's open, calling for his mama. It's just like that's not something. Sad. Yeah, it's like not something you'd expect to see in a movie, and like especially of like okay, this is a full grown man like calling for his mom because he's literally dying, and it's always been a rough scene for me to watch.
No, yeah, same.
And I just almost come to tears every time.
It's definitely a tearjerker. Mostly just because of how like it's just like so sad.
Yeah. And then
because like anytime in movies, whenever I see like a full grown man kind of like crying, it's always like, oh.
Yeah, it's
serious. He's just like sitting there dying, and he's like giving them morphine. They just keep giving him morphine, so he dies more peacefully. I guess.
Peacefully. Yeah, especially with
like not in such pain.
Well, then especially if you like kind of like know like the reason, like where he's like, I could just use some morphine, and it's like, and then it cuts to all of them just being like, okay. Because it's like, especially when he's actually like really calm. He's like sitting there bleeding out. He's like, okay, how does everything look? And at one point he's like, oh my god, that's my liver. That's my liver. And it's like, oh wow. So like,
it's like
he knows he's dying, especially after he's like, y'all can just give me morphine.
Yeah,
please.
Because everybody knows
y'all can just do that
is so that you die.
Yeah, and it just cuts to them. It's just them saying like, he just knows he's dying.
And that's why it's like Captain Miller had to give the order twice. He was like, give it to him. And they kind of looked at him. They're like, give it to him.
Yeah, and then at one point they're just like, give him another.
They give him like three.
They give him like I think just two, but still they give him two, which is kind of a waste for someone else. But it's just them saying like,
they don't want to.
We don't want him
painfully
to.
We
don't want him to be in agony.
Mm-hmm.
And then of course that's when it cuts to the German that I think Mellish is like kicking the crap out of.
Yeah, they're all like start beating
him up. It's like hold him, Reiben. No, it's I think Reiben. He's like hold him, Reiben. and that's where Jackson goes up and starts beating him up. Like, just hold him. And so like beating that dude, and so like then you kind of forget like about everything that just happened before, and they're like,
Because now they
this
have like
movie's the
this
one.
POW.
Yeah, it's like it's one thing after another. It's like, okay, you just watched like a squad mate die. Now you're having to deal with like the moral battle of what they do with this
Prisoner
POW.
who like shot their friend or whatever.
Yeah, and that's where they're asking like, did you shoot him? And the whole time like just kill him. And then of course you have Upham, which we haven't really talked about a whole lot. Just
Upham's
what
like
we did.
Upham's nice. So he sees like good. He's like sorry.
He's a
Whatever.
little he's not entirely cut out
He's
for
not. He doesn't
what he's
have the
dragged into.
experience of battle because
No.
every time that he's there, he's either like hiding, not doing anything, because he's just scared. Which is, I
Right.
think, what would be relatable to a lot of people is this character
Right.
who's not, doesn't have the battle experiences as the rest of the squad has, and so he's just scared to do anything.
And you already are like, okay, you're just endangering the whole squad because you're not helping, he is. He brought him all that stuff. That's kind of what he was just more of a runner to bring all that stuff at first. But it's still like, okay, you're annoying. You're not helping with anything.
It's like you just kind of like sit and watch from the sidelines. It's like these guys
Yeah.
can really use your help.
Yeah, and it's like, come on, man. And then
Like with the whole battle that we just saw, which ended up with Wade dying, is he just sat in the back and watched through the scope
yeah,
because he didn't want to be anywhere near it.
exactly.
It's like they could have used your help. I mean, like his help could have prevented Wade's death.
It could have.
Like it maybe
Maybe
it
not,
would have, but it
it
increased his chance.
It definitely would have increased his chance. Maybe he could have died. You don't know.
Yeah.
But he still definitely adds like the moral dilemmas that goes on between them, where he's like, come on guys, no, he's a POW. It's like, this is okay.
Yeah, he's a prisoner. It's like we don't. That's against the rules.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So you know what? Maybe that wasn't part of it. Okay, now you're saying that, like the Geneva Convention, like the laws of where you can't shoot prisoners.
Yeah, I guess.
So I guess that was because he's like it's against the rules.
Yeah, to just kill someone. I mean,
so he's trying to follow.
It's like he's the one that would rat them out. Like these guys, they committed a war crime. They're like, okay, I guess we can't do this behind your back now. But he's the one like just kind of being like, come on, let's do the right thing. It's just like, come on, this is war. Like nothing's right.
Yeah,
that's kind of what Miller was saying, where they're like, I don't have a good feeling about this. Like, when was the last time you had a good feeling at all?
Yeah,
there's just so many thoughts that surround war that you don't think about are brought up in this, and so many like emotions between all these different characters.
And a big one is definitely the morals.
Yeah,
like what would you do in this situation? Like this guy just killed your friend. Would you kill him? Or did you go bring him back as a prisoner? Like, what would you?
Would you trust him walking off?
Mm-hmm.
I certainly was watching. Like, no, he's not gonna go just turn. Because I obviously wouldn't go turn myself into a bunch of Germans, a bunch of Nazis and stuff. Like I certainly would not.
Yeah, no, I just.
So he's definitely not. Either they take him or I don't know. We'd probably be exploiting too much personal opinions on this. But so yeah, no, it's definitely like an interesting. It's cool that the movie does that. It's like, okay, what would I actually do?
Yeah, it makes the audience or the viewers question themselves, like their own morals, I guess.
Yeah, that's another thing. It's kind of like, would I be more of a hard ass or would I be a little softer like Upham? But you do definitely relate to Upham's character a little more. Especially with being like, okay, as a viewer, I'm already being thrown in like we talked about earlier. So I don't need to mention that again. But no, it's definitely interesting with how it all works. But yeah, he definitely causes more of a dilemma for like all the characters and a lot of challenges. And he kind of poses almost as a threat.
Yeah.
A little bit. And you, even though you probably relate with him the most, you're like, oh, you definitely recognize it. So yeah, so no, it's interesting where they let him go. That's another funny scene where he's like digging the graves and they come up and they're all like cocking their guns. Like, I love America, I love it, Steamboat Willie, Betty Boop, and then he's like doing the best he can. Yeah, throwing all these like cool beans, you know.
And then he sings the national anthem. It's
It's
like,
like,
I say, can you
you
see?
see,
I say, can you see?
and then they're just almost looking at him with like,
There's like,
it's like, it's
it's
like,
not
okay,
working.
it's not working, but it's all you can see in a lot of their eyes where they're just like, you're trying so hard, and you're making it harder for us to decide what to do with you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're like, you're just trying hard, man. And that's where Captain Miller just gets up. You're kind of like, okay, they're about to execute him, especially when he gets that tie and puts it over him.
And it's actually kind of interesting. One thing I didn't really notice this before when I watched the movie, but when we just watched like a second ago, once he's putting on that blindfold, three of the guys walk in front of the dude as if they're about to like shoot him,
Yeah,
and kind of like lined up, like they were loading up their guns, getting ready, and like lining up like a firing squad,
yeah.
not realizing that he was going to send them off. But I never noticed that before until just now.
And I noticed that too today too, kind of like for the first time.
It's like because everybody else is behind him, like behind Captain Miller, as he's putting blindfold, and three of them walk in the front, getting ready
Right.
to get shoot him, expecting that's what the plan is.
Because they probably obviously they
They
weren't like,
they didn't want him
this
to
is what
live.
we're gonna do. I'm gonna blindfold him. Y'all are gonna shoot him. It was more of like, let's just get ready for whatever. He obviously has a plan, because that's what I like about Captain Miller. That's one thing I'd like to bring up is that he's very mysterious. It's like it's kind of weird that Tom Hanks is mysterious. You know, because
Mhm.
like especially after like watching something like Forrest Gump or like Castaway, where he's just like a very open guy. You're like, oh, this is the guy that played Woody like 3 years ago. You know, and so now he's like this guy who's just somehow mysterious, which he does a great job. And um, yeah, that's the part that happens after this, where they let him go, and they're all fine, like, come on, man, like, why are you letting him go? And they're like, it's just a whole fight going back and forth, like we talked about before. But then another fight amongst the squads comes up after that, where Ryben and
Ryben like threatens to like leave.
yeah,
He starts walking off.
yeah, he's like, I'm leaving. And then Sergeant Horvath,
Sergeant Horvath.
Horvath, yeah, he's like, I never liked you. He pulls out a gun. He's like, they're all
He's like, "What, are you gonna shoot me?" Like, cause he's like, "You're gonna shoot me because I spoke my mind." No, he's like, "No, I'm gonna shoot you because I don't like you."
yeah. Oh, I love Sergeant Horvath.
Yeah, Sergeant Horvath's character is so funny.
Yeah, it's he's awesome. And he's like, come on, put one in my leg. He's like, oh no, I'm gonna put one in your mouth.
Yeah.
No, it's great. And then of course at least and then Jackson, he's there. He's like,
It's like we
he's
got a
like, guy,
situation.
he's like, calm down. And then I was like, sir, it's like, Captain, aren't you gonna do anything? And then like I love when it cuts back and forth, and he's just sitting there. He's like looking back. He's like, this is stupid.
Mhm.
You can tell what he's thinking, and as these guys are like kind of stressing you out, and you look in the back, and some of them are just standing around like this is actually happening. And then Jackson, he actually at one point he pulls out a gun. He's like, y'all better stop.
Yeah, he's like, we got a situation, Captain. He's like, he doesn't know what to do.
Yeah, it's like, okay, the Christian dude is about to shoot one of his own dudes. He starts praying. He's like, God, please give me the strength to shoot one of my own men. Yeah, and then yeah, I just love that. And then he's like, all right, guys, what's? And then I love how Captain Miller breaks the ice by like saying
Telling us.
something random. He's like, hey guys, Mike, what's the pull on me now?
Mhm.
And there's like, what? They like they're
It
so
grabs their
confused.
attention.
Yeah, it grabs their attention. They're just so confused. And he's like, is it 300, 500? All right, well, I'm a teacher. I live in Pennsylvania. And it's just like, that's where it's like, okay, that's right. This was something important to all of them, was to find out his history.
Mhm.
And I love that whole scene. I
No,
mean,
yeah, it shows he knows how to de-escalate that whole thing, and he does it very well. I mean, obviously, it's like scripted or whatever, but like, I feel like that would be like because he starts it off with an attention grabber,
right,
like being like, "What's the pool now?" And then he starts to tell his own story,
right,
like just to get everybody's minds off of stuff, and like, it is interesting to the other men because whenever Horvath hears that he was a school teacher, he's just like, "I'll be doggone."
yeah, I'll be doggone. because
Just because like no one expects their captain, I guess, he's like very clever on the battlefield and is doing like necessary things and hard decisions, I guess,
right,
to be just he was just some school teacher
yeah,
before.
and like you said, where the cat where Horvath is like, I'll be doggone. I like
Because he's
where
like our leader's been an English teacher.
the whole time, yeah, he's English composition
Yeah.
and I teach, I taught baseball, the little league
It's like this guy was
baseball
just some
in the
normal
spring.
dude, and now he's out in the battlefield,
Yeah,
a whole different person. Which
which
is what he talks
what he
about
taught.
too.
I
Yeah.
love that. I mainly noticed that today. It really hit me.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of things today hit me. Where his conversation with Upham, I'd kind of forgotten about where they were talking about you know war and just having to do what they have to do, and him just being like, yeah, I'm scared too with y'all. Like I want to leave things. I don't want y'all to be too know too much about me, but now he's like, yeah, I know. Like that's why I wanted to keep it so low is because like I need to be the man, the leader that y'all need. I need y'all to look up to me in a certain way in order for y'all to follow me. He was like that. That's where he was like, yeah, no. People would be like, oh, I figured you're like an English composition writer or teacher or and a baseball coach back home. And that's how people would say like I knew it. But here you say that, and it's like, what? So
Yeah,
you're not
people
this
would.
great leader that you are
Mm-hmm.
now. He's like,
People would look at you differently.
yeah.
But
So
like
I
you probably
love
don't know how to lead us if you're an English teacher.
right, which I don't know if like that's exactly. I would have been like, well, that's cool that you're like this badass English teacher. Cool. Yeah.
Well, I was just like
I have
thinking it
more of a
because
respect for you now. But then I like what else he says. Like every time I kill someone, I go further and further away from home.
he was talking about how he wonders if his wife is even gonna recognize him.
Yeah, which is
I was
like
like, dang.
it is like woo, man. But yeah, no, I love that whole scene. It's a good monologue done by
Oh yeah,
Tom Hanks. Um,
it's a really good scene.
even though it was like cut and stuff, it was just a great monologue, and I love how he's like, I wonder if my wife's gonna recognize me. I wonder if anyone's gonna recognize me. Once I'm back home. But no, and then apparently that whole scene was supposed to be even longer.
Oh really?
Yeah, but Tom Hanks was like, "What?" And was like, guys, this isn't how this character would do this. He'd be like, he'd say like maybe a 5 minute speech instead of a 20-minute speech. Apparently, it was supposed to be much longer.
Dang. Well,
Yeah.
I guess I'm glad they did that. Well, I'm
Mm-hmm.
not sure what we would have missed.
May have
I
been
definitely
good.
like the length. I thought that was more personal.
It was, and it probably was more condensed.
Mm-hmm.
Like more impactful, but like just really short. I wonder, if that would have been changed, if they left the other stuff in. But no, I definitely love that scene, but he definitely gives Ryben the free will to leave.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can leave, I'm gonna keep going. Kind of does that at first, where he's like, y'all can skip out, y'all can go around. I'm gonna go through this whole radar station. And he just leaves, and you can like they followed him, and so I love where he gives his men the free will. You're like, y'all can do that. I'm gonna do this, and they just follow along because it's like okay, they trust him. Because he obviously knows something. He knows he's gonna be okay. At least something's gonna be okay. He's doing the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
I just love that about his character.
And he's kind of like proven himself, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
because now that they know he's an English teacher, it's like you might kind of think, oh my goodness, he's an English teacher. There's no way he can lead us. But at this point, he's like proven,
Yeah.
I guess, his ability to lead and to
Yeah. He must think
bring
about
them.
things much differently. He thinks with his head more than his own his physical strength.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Just I love that whole scene. I love like scenes like that in like an action movie like this, especially where like okay, here's the depth and the detail. I
I
just
always like the character building in this movie.
me too.
They did a great job with it.
They do, and so that's where they finish burying Wade. They all grab shovels. They all pitch in. That's where Ryman's about to walk off, but
Then he
you can
changes his
tell.
mind.
I like how he walks off immediately after he leaves. Like he didn't
And then
think.
yeah,
He,
and then
he
he
didn't
pauses.
hesitate.
Yeah.
But then he starts thinking. Like then he's like, okay, I actually will stay.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that's where you're like, okay, I like his character a little more now. You know, other than the fact that he looks like Ben Affleck, cool. But yeah. So Ben Affleck look alike along with Matt Damon.
Yep.
Yeah, they were reunited. But but yeah, so then the next scene is where they're out in that field and they hear the 2-track coming.
Yeah.
The
There's a half track. I think it's called half track.
yeah, half track. Yeah, okay, I said it wrong. See, yeah, there I am,
And
flaunting my knowledge.
that's actually where this is where you get to meet Matt Damon. You know, because they see the half track and they're all like, half track,
Yeah, it's like
covered, get down or whatever the heck. And then a bazooka fire comes out of nowhere.
Yeah, they hear
like,
fire. They're like, where's that coming
Yeah,
from?
where's it coming from? Who's doing the shooting? Who's doing the shooting? That's what
Yeah.
the dude, or that's what Sergeant
Horvath.
says. He's like, who's doing the shooting?
Yeah, no, I love that scene. You just all of a sudden, poof, like it stopped. You're like, oh, it's kind of like a false, like, it's like, oh my gosh, they're about to, like, they're going up against a tank now. Especially, you know, I watched Fury like a while ago. It kind of reminds me of that scene where they're all fighting that tiger in Fury.
Oh yeah.
And like that thing is just taking them out one by one. And it's like, okay, they're going up against this guy like 1-on-1. You know, like, 10-on-1 massive thing that's just gonna kill them all. And it just takes them out. You're like, whoa. And all the guys are like crawling out, like burning, and they're just like taking them out. And all of a sudden you hear like airborne, like we're coming out. Okay. And then it's like very casually, it's like, okay, I'm so and so. Like, hey, I'm Private Ryan. And it's like it goes to the next one. It's like, wait, James
like, wait,
Francis Ryan?
He's like, yeah, how'd you get that?
Yeah, he's like, how'd you guess that?
He's like, yeah, how'd you guess that?
And then like it shows Tom Hanks like,
and then yeah, he's like, I
and
love
he
that
looks
scene.
back
He
and
looks
they're
back, and everybody else is like,
they're like, it's all like they're almost mad with how casual he was, but at the same time you're like laughing. You're like, oh my gosh, it's like that was
how'd
so
you guess
casual.
that? And then it was kind of like a comedic kind of thing again. Like they
Yeah.
just had this little battle and another comedy thing. And it was like, yeah, how'd you guess that? And he's kind of like, yeah. and then they all look at each other.
I love
very
that
funny.
scene. I love that scene. And then that's where you get to follow them back to where they were, because you heard they were like
guarding the
bridge at something
Ravel,
something like that.
Let me see if maybe I can.
You might be able to find it.
Yeah.
But anyway, so they were oh, my stomach made that noise. Anywho, so they're all guarding, and they're like, all right, y'all aren't the reinforcements that we needed. It's like, yeah, I know, but why are y'all here? Well, to take one of your men.
Yeah.
It's like, we need reinforcements, but y'all are taking one of like our guys, and that is like the start of like
the big kind
a
of climax.
major battle. Like that battle's like an hour, almost like an hour long.
Well, it's because they deal a
45
lot
minutes.
with the preparation,
Yeah.
which I like, kind of showing the prepreparation of what it takes for a battle, like
And like the planning,
it's like a lot went into planning because they're completely outnumbered, completely outgunned, and they have to outsmart the enemy rather than try and outgun them just in like a shootout because they'll lose.
Right.
Tanks. They got tanks and they got troops, and they just got a couple bombs and a little bit of ammunition.
Right. No, it's crazy. And like,
And so they got to figure out ways to outthink the tanks and the soldiers by finding the correct vantage points and what to do with the bombs.
yeah. I mean, like, all they have is like just one big MG40 gun. And it's just like a little bit of everything. Well, like just a little bit of like a few key things that would help them. But even then, where you're like, oh wow, that's a good bit. It's still like that is not a lot at all. So yeah, it's crazy. And so they're like, okay, so how are they gonna do this? But then there's the whole thing. It's like another like moral debauchery where it's just like, was that the correct word? I can't remember.
I'm not sure.
I need to brush up on my vocabulary. Definitely have strayed a good way away from that. But no, where James Francis Ryan of Iowa is like, well, tell my mom like I'm gonna be like my bow tie's like a little skew.
It's a little sideways.
A little sideways. Oh, it was bothering you. Is it? How is it now? Oh, there we go.
A little bit of
yeah. We got it now. Sorry, it was bothering you.
It was just like a little sideways. I was like, gotta correct his bow tie.
Yeah, it's just like Anywho, so that was awesome. That was awesome. But no, I love how like he's like, well, tell my mom like I'm gonna fight with the only brothers I have left,
Hmm.
and like there's that whole thing where it's like, okay, what would I do? Would I be like, oh sweet, free ticket home,
Yeah.
or would I go, or just stay there and like tell my mom no, like I'm gonna die, like which one? And so then like you have like Ryman like, hey, I don't know if like I'm comfortable with cursing on my podcast just yet because I'm not like that. But especially for like, I mean, at least with like, but anyway, he's like, hey, we had two guys that like died trying to get you, and he's still like, really? What were their names? And like, just like, okay, man, I'm still staying,
Hmm.
And I love that scene.
And then you can see more like right after that the friendship that Captain Miller and Sergeant
Horvath.
Horvath have. I keep forgetting his name. I don't know
No,
why.
I forgot it. I kept forgetting it, and then I got it down. It's okay.
So like their friendship, because after he says that I'm staying, and he kind of goes back to his airborne, brothers in arms, and kind of like they comfort him a little bit. He
Yeah, especially after
you know,
learning his brothers died.
mhm. Captain Miller kind of confides within Sergeant Horvath and kind of like asking what he would
Seeks
think.
his judgment.
Yeah, he's like, so what's the plan? He's like, I don't know what to do. He's like, what do you think we should do? That's where Sergeant Horvath says he gives him like two options. He's like, you don't know what to think. I think he's not coming. We just leave and go home, or we stay and possibly make it out of this.
Yeah, he's like, I feel like we could. I feel like we could make it out of this, and the best thing we could have ever done is just
And the Saving Private Ryan could have
save.
been the best thing we've ever did in this mess.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, no, I do like that is another part where I really like his character even more. It's like, oh, he definitely knows what's up.
Hmm.
So yeah, no, I love it.
And so they decided to stay and
Yeah,
help them defend the bridge.
yeah, which I really like. I like the whole thing is our objective isn't to save Private Ryan. Our objective is to win this war too. It's like
Hmm.
their main objective is to save Private Ryan, but he's also reminding his men, it's like, I don't know if y'all realize, but we're in a world war. We're Americans, and
They got to
we're
win the
going
war.
against these Nazis and stuff, and so trying to
Yeah.
kill all them. But yeah, no, I love that, and this is one of the greatest battles ever. I did like how it wasn't as shaky as like Normandy, and like it's
Hmm.
just kind of like, okay, so like they're all doing this.
Because
They're
maybe, it's just now that you mentioned that, it might have been just because it's a little more organized.
Yeah,
Like, so they had a whole plan put
and they've
together.
been through. It's almost like trying to follow them, like their experience and the anxiety of what they were feeling.
Because, like, Normandy, they just got there and they're just getting mowed down. That's
Yeah,
all they know.
this one
And
they
so
were
it's
a
like,
little more prepared.
and so, yeah, now they had a whole plan.
It was a little more calculated.
Yeah.
But yeah,
So,
no.
that you mentioned that, that's a pretty good idea. That's
Hmm.
pretty good point. I never noticed that.
Yeah, and then of course you have like, Jackson up in the bell tower, and they're all learning about sticky bombs. I thought sticky bombs were actually a thing, but they're like, what are those? Like, well, you put explosives in a
I mean, they
sock,
were a
and
thing because it's in the manual, but
yeah,
no one
right,
read the manual.
yeah. You're like, we don't have a manual. Mind enlightening us? Like, well, you put it in a GI issued sock, soak it in like oil, like yeah, like
It was like in
oil.
grease or
Yeah,
oil,
yeah, like
axle oil,
yeah,
or
axle oil.
axle grease,
Either one,
something like
almost
that.
like the same thing. But yeah, it's like, yeah, you just soak it in that, and it sticks. Hence the name Sticky Bomb.
It's
Like,
like,
okay,
wow.
yeah, exactly. It's
So
like,
they make a
okay.
couple of them.
So yeah, so they do that, and they're just like, okay, so that's gonna go against the tanks and stuff and whatnot, and
To blow the tracks off.
yeah,
Because they were going to use it as like a roadblock.
right. That's
Try
true.
and bait in the tank and use it as like a natural rope. Or I guess not natural, but just with this giant tank stuck in the road, no tanks are going to be able to come down that road.
Right,
They'll
exactly.
be stuck.
Yeah, which is another thing because obviously they don't want to have to blow up a bridge.
Mm-hmm.
Because that could help either way. Like, yeah, it would help the Nazis to get through, but it also would help the
Help the
Americans
Allies
to
get
get
through,
through.
yeah.
Yeah, or the Allies. Yeah,
That's why they blew up all of them, but two,
right.
so they can still use it.
And they could all like each side could keep an eye on things, which gets a little hard. But yeah, no. But no, like just this whole setup, and then there's definitely a big calm before the storm moment where they're talking about Edith Piaf.
Mm-hmm.
Edith Piaf. I said it opposite. Where and like they're all talking about it, and they're finally like accepting
Upham.
Upham into their squad, and you're like, okay. Especially when he finds out what foo bar means, you can see where Mellish, he's like, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, they've like accepted him.
yeah, and then they're all talking. They're like, man, I think you're gonna if you don't stop talking, the Germans won't need to kill me and stuff like that, and all this stuff. But I do like those tender moments where they finally accepted him. But yeah, no, it's and then there's like the tender moments between Captain Miller and Private Ryan,
Yeah,
where he tells that whole like awkward but funny story.
about his brothers.
Yeah, it was very awkwardly like done, but it was kind of like, okay, so he's just reminiscing like on old times, and it's like, it wasn't like awkward, but it was like, I don't know.
So, like, Captain Miller was just helping him think,
Yeah,
because he said like Private Ryan was saying how he can't even like see his brother's face, and he's like, you got to think about a specific moment,
yeah,
and so that was the moment that he came out.
yeah. And so I guess that was helping him in many ways. I really liked that moment too. Just the film, just reminiscing a good bit. But no, I loved it. I loved it. So yeah, so then after that, that's where they start really gearing up. They hear the
Yeah,
tanks
they hear
coming.
the tanks rolling.
That's where he looks up to Jackson, and he's like, okay, we have 2 Panzers, 2 Tigers, 50 infantry.
plus change.
Yeah, plus change. Like what does that
I'm
mean?
not too sure what that means. I imagine
Is
that
that like
that's just
extra?
like, it's just like, so you have 50,
So do you
and
go?
then just like a handful of extra guys, so it's not exactly
Yeah.
50 or something like that, but
Yeah, probably like
or it's like 50.
50 is like the closest, like between like maybe 50, 20.
Maybe it's like looking at it, you're like, that's definitely
It's like
50
20,
people, but I'm
50,
not about to
100.
count all of that.
Right,
And so
exactly.
he's just trying to give quick information, so it's like it's definitely 50 plus probably some extra, so like change
More than 50.
more than 50.
Yeah. No, okay, that makes more sense. I feel like you're more equipped to answer that.
Probably
You know.
not, but
We're probably wrong. We're probably way wrong.
maybe.
You
But
know.
it seems like it'd be right.
Yeah, I mean, change is just extra.
Extra
It's
people.
like left over.
Yeah.
It's
Like
okay.
$50 and some change.
That's what we've gathered from that. We're not gonna be too sure
If we're
of
wrong,
ourselves.
email us or put a comment. Actually,
Yes.
that's a thing.
That's all good. But yeah, no, that's where everything happens. Where they're like, I don't think they took the bait. And sure enough, they do take the bait.
Yeah, it was the Panzers that passed.
The Panzers did pass, so they did
And
get
then
the worst.
The Tiger tanks came down. And they're like, shoot.
Yeah, the Panzers did come around. Those were like the easiest ones.
Because they just shot those with like the bazookas or whatever.
Yeah, from behind.
But the Tigers, they used the sticky bombs on that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which yeah, they definitely had to get those. Those are the biggest threat.
But
along
it
with all
also
the men.
Yeah, but before before all the tanks come down, the whole fighting happens. It's like it builds up the intensity because they're all just having a conversation, listening to music, and you hear like the tank squeal, like the wheels squealing, and so they turn off the music and they kind of like start listening closely, and they're like,
Right.
they're coming, so they all get into positions, and then you get the numbers for like an exact number ish from Jackson, who's in the tower. And then then they all get into positions and get ready, and you still just hear the squealing.
Yeah,
And it's just like it's like 2 minutes
it's like building
of
up.
nothing but the squealing noise, and then just like everybody's like,
It's almost like that scene from Monty Python, The Holy Grail, where it's like them like listening for like the big wooden rabbit.
oh
Coming out like, they're just like, what's happening?
What is that?
It's like it's kind of like making fun of like scenes like that in movies almost.
It's
Or
like
it's just
building up some extreme intensity by seeing nothing.
to like an extreme point where it's like what? But this is actually like, when's it coming out? Like when's everything gonna escalate? And then eventually you see them pass, and they just like that's what they do. They
You
just
hear
pass.
the gunshots from like the guys on the little motorcycle
Yeah.
halfback thing.
Yeah,
It was
yeah. It was Ryben and someone
Ryman and
else.
just some other guy.
Yeah, some random dude that was already there. But yeah, no, you also have like all the extra guys, with the squad that you already got to know. So you do have extra men. And then of course you hear them telling Private Ryan like, "No, you're gonna stick to me That is no,
Yeah,
no,
no,
yeah,
non-negotiable. He has to be like
non-negotiable.
2 meters away from him at all
Yeah,
times.
he's like 2 feet away from me, non-negotiable. And so yeah, so then like of course like you see that one dude grab a sticky bomb, he like lights it, like holding it for a while, like oh,
Yeah, he just
uh.
like messed that whole thing up
He
and
like goes to
blows
stick it
himself
up,
up.
yeah, he blows up.
I was like, oh,
Yeah, I
dang.
was also like I was, even though I'd seen it so many times before. When I watched it today, I was like, oh, that just happened. Oh my god.
Yeah, I didn't notice he kind of jumped at that point
Yeah. Oh yeah, you did see that?
because I was like sitting there
I was
watching. I see you
like,
go. What was that?
I was like, whoa, I totally forgot that happens.
No, I think that's crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy. It's like, oh, that's, I guess
He
that
just
happens.
like evaporated.
Yeah, it's like I suppose that's
Like he just messed up.
exactly. So then you have the other two guys that do it, and like they get away, and then like it finally breaks the tracks on it and stuff. So they're able to like get all those guys, take them pretty quickly. You know, I was like, why don't they just shoot all the guys inside and take that thing and like, just use it to
Yeah.
destroy the other
I
ones?
don't know.
I don't know. I guess that would make them vulnerable. You know.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah.
Yeah, but then of course he keeps shooting up to Jackson up in the tower. He's like praying and then just like taking out one dude after the other. Like I just
Jackson's
always love
just
that.
smoking
He's like,
everybody.
"Doop, doop, doop." No, I've
Crazy.
always loved Barry Pepper, as I mentioned before. But then he does like he pulls off that character so well.
Mm-hmm.
You just like take him out one by one, and then you have Mellish and the other dude. They're just in there, and Upham's having to bring them stuff, and then Upham's just kind of fumbling around, not really sure what to do. At one point, he's like carrying those rounds of like
Yeah, the ammo.
yeah, like 40 or 50 calibers, and they're like that's where Captain Miller's like, Upham, you're either that's we don't need that here. That goes to either Jackson in the tower or that goes to Mellish. He's like going up like back and forth.
Yeah, he's just kind of like, so he's very confused and lost.
Yeah, you're like, that's not good. That's already like a setup. And that's because that's what this pretty much is. It's both an organized and very chaotic
Yeah.
and like unorganized at the same
Because,
time.
I mean, a lot of times plans don't go exactly how they're supposed to happen. Or sometimes don't
Right.
even happen at all.
Yeah.
Like, you can have this whole plan, it kind of works because, they get the tank, but then, like, just something can always happen.
Right. No,
That's always not happen. Like,
just
not planned.
something always goes down that can really throw a wrench in
In the plan,
all
yeah.
the gears. But yeah, no, shoot, just so much. It's almost like, what do we even talk about on like a podcast about this final battle?
There's a lot that goes
There's
on.
like almost too much to like really think about, and like
We definitely need to talk about,
what happens to Mellish.
Mellish, yeah, and just Upham's sort of his arc, his
Yeah.
character. Because, I mean, a lot of people depend on Upham, and he just lets them all down.
Right, he does.
I just get so frustrated with his character
Right.
because they need, like, because Fish or Mellish and, like, the other airborne guy, I forget his name,
Yeah, me too. It was
But
definitely there.
they were in that machine gun spot, and they needed ammo because
Right.
they're, like, struggling over there to cover the right flank that was getting overrun by Germans.
Right.
And they needed ammo, but Upham was, like, too afraid to go and give them ammo.
Right.
And
as the Germans like literally snuck right past them.
yeah, and the Germans literally get into where Fish is, and they have their whole battle, like their little fist fight, which ends up with Fish dying and the other guy dying too.
Right.
So they all die because he wasn't there to help them.
Right.
And then even like the Germans leaving, and Upham's just
Yeah.
like standing there. He's like
He's
crying.
He's just crying, and like the dude at least lets him go.
Yeah, because I mean it was the same German that they let go in the previous.
I actually
bit.
always thought that, but it's actually not.
Are you sure?
My dad pointed it out to me. We're like, oh yeah, like it's so stupid that, they let that German go. And so today I was like really paying attention. I was like, you know what? I think my dad's right.
It is the same guy.
That I guess some German soldiers look the same.
Well, no, because
He
he
has
even acknowledges who it was.
Well, he does in the end,
Yeah.
at least. But like the guy that killed Mellish was just a random. I think I'm pretty
I don't
sure
think that's right because he's literally got the same face and the same haircut.
he was a little more muscular. The other dude looked like
I swear that's the same.
The other dude looked like he was, I mean this like super offensively, but he was like a smoker of like 30 years. He had more of a defined like cheekbones, and the other dude had more of a defined jawline.
Are you sure?
I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
We'll have to determine that later.
Might have to
Finally, something we like kind of disagree on.
It was just 'cause I always thought that was like the whole thing, and that's why he let him go. Like whenever,
Yeah.
Upham was sitting there crying, and he's like, "I surrender." He kind of like let him go because he let him go.
Yeah. I mean, I'm like I said, I always thought that. Like I was like, but then I was like, yeah, that's almost like corny for like a war movie, a war drama like this, to be like, oh look, wouldn't it be so funny and like cool if just so randomly like the guy like in the credits he's called Steamboat Willie, by the way.
Oh, is he really?
Yeah, and
That's funny.
I noticed that in the credits when we watched that
Steamboat
so a
Willie.
while ago. And so like we can refer to him as Steamboat Willie.
Mm-hmm.
But so I noticed that, and so Steamboat Willie, I always thought it was him the whole time that kills Fish or Mellish. But yeah, no, at least that's my conclusion after today.
I'll
that
just
I
have to go
noticed.
watch that then.
Yeah.
I need to watch it again.
Yeah, I guess so. Whole
Just to
other
investigate
3
that some
hours.
more.
But yeah, we'll just look it up later. Unless like we do it during the period of the show. But no, so yeah, so that whole thing that's always been rough to watch. Just
It's
like
very brutal because they're like biting each other's hands.
yeah, they're
and
literally biting each other,
they're biting their fingers, biting their hands. Just
making each other bleed. I do like the scene where they're like calling for Upham. They think he's coming up to like Upham, and they just stop and it's silent.
and then they just
Like okay, they're not American.
that's not Upham.
Yeah, there's like, and then it's also like a moment like, was that Upham? Because you hear like, like a bunch of bullets just like go like a bandolier. He's like, was it? Could it have been? And it's like, and like everything happens. They get that one dude in the throat, and he gets the other guy, and like then the knife fight ensues, and then it's just the way it like
It slowly just like
slowly
stabs him in the
kills
heart.
him.
It's like,
and then he's trying to bargain with him. He's like, "Hey, stop! Let's talk. Let's talk."
which I feel like that would, because he's losing. He's like, stop.
Yeah, it's like, what do you do at that point when someone's like literally stabbing
It's
you?
like you're about to lose, and you just like gel.
Yeah, no, and then they're just talking to each other like as he's stabbing him slowly. Like, oh wow, that's pretty grim even for a dark, humored person.
I'm kind of curious as to what he's saying in German.
Like,
what is he saying?
A lot
to
of
him?
things. Yeah, I was like, what are they saying in German? My dad like spoke a little bit. He took a little bit of German. I know a German lady who used to live across from my grandparents. So maybe we can ask her, like, watch this whole movie with us.
And translate.
She did. She was forced to be in the Nazi army. So I wonder what that would be like.
Dang.
Interesting. Huh. I wonder what that would be like to have her watch, like, Saving Private Ryan with us. Like, you caused this. Like, that would be pretty bad.
It's your fault.
It's your fault. It's like, what was this like? I want you to reminisce and, like, yeah, that would be sad if we had to call the hotline for her. Like, hey, she wasn't American, but she was on the Nazi side,
You have anybody for that?
Yeah. I wonder what that would be like. That'd be interesting. I don't know. Is that even something to joke about? I don't know.
I have no idea.
Yeah, we're
Probably
probably going to get kicked off. Like,
Canceled.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, I wonder what that would be like. Anyway, I keep thinking about it. I need to stop. But yeah, so no, that is a really brutal scene. Just brutal scene after brutal scene in this whole thing. It's like you're never like, oh, it's kind of like in some action movies, like okay, the action escalates and like de-escalates, but this is like it's kind of like just almost like a wave ride. Just like it's awesome, all the way through. Awesome in the sense of like I'm being entertained by action and I'm like on the edge of my seat constantly. And so no, it's a super interesting and very well done scene. I've always liked it.
The whole sequence
Well,
of this
yeah, the
battle, it's
whole
like
battle.
constant action, and it never, like as you were saying, it never de-escalates. It's just constant
Right.
the whole time.
Which is super cool and very well done. But yeah, no. I mean, then of course you have where Jackson dies. He's like taking him out. He misses a few, which was cool. That wasn't like he's like toom toom toom.
Yeah,
He had a few stormtrooper.
He's like, ooh.
Right, he had a few stormtrooper shots, but which made it realistic. you know, and then like you have like the guy with the blood splattering everywhere, and then all of a sudden kind of like what happens to the sniper at the first, he like looks at the tank and it's like aiming at him. And you're like, oh no,
He's like, oh boy, no,
this
no,
is
no, no,
bad.
no. He's like, you don't want Jackson to die. You're
It's
like, no,
like,
no, 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 no,
yeah,
no.
and then he dies like Parker, and
It's
like
like,
just,
no.
and you're like, no, Jackson.
It's like, dang it.
Yeah,
Dang it.
and then
I remember
that's
the first time I watched it, whenever he died, I was like, man,
yeah. Every time, I'm just like
didn't want him to die.
I almost cry out of anger. I'm just like,
It's like
why?
it's inevitable.
Why
You're like,
him?
no.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like he's such a cool character. But then, of course, I love the shot right after that,
Where you watch
where
the
you,
tower,
you see
Miller's point of view.
right, you
of the
see
tower
Captain
blowing
Miller
up.
like Jackson was in there. They were like helping us a lot. I gotta move on. Just like that's you
Yeah,
like you
it's
saw.
like it's a pause where he's looking,
He's like, oh
and
my
then he
god,
goes right back to
just
shooting.
right straight right into it. You're just like, that's how you have to do. You
Mhm.
can't sit there and
He's
start crying.
assessing that that's happened, and like nah,
Maybe
he's like,
emotionally dealing with it
it's
for
like
a
we
split
gotta,
second.
but just gotta keep going.
I love it. No, that was something I've noticed today and like last time when we watched it,
Mhm.
where I was like, cool, like that's crazy that he has to do that. He has to refrain from emotionally like grieving for his friend, and
Just because I
there's
mean,
a lot
if
of
he
that.
takes too long of a pause, it can either end up with people dying or himself dying.
Yeah, or
So
time
he's just gotta
wasted.
keep pushing.
But yeah, no, you can't let it affect him. And then, shoot, who else dies like after all this? Just seems like you're watching the squad you've been following the whole
Yeah,
time,
they start getting picked
one by
off.
one, just
And
being
then the
picked off.
next one I think to die is Sergeant
Horvath,
Horvath.
he's shot so many times. There's also that kind of half comedic. It's comedic.
He's like, I got the wind knocked out of me.
Well,
That part?
the part where
Oh, they throw the helmets
yeah, throw helmets at
Yeah.
each other, and that's where you get shot in the legs. Like, oh, and that's where they're like, well, let's go back to the Alamo, like where we have to go after this, and that's where he finds Upham crying, still crying on the staircase, and you're
He
like,
runs up,
you
grabs
little,
him, and pulls him.
yeah, it's like you little turd, like you're just like, okay, you gotta get him. So he has to grab him, and they're like going like, we gotta go to the Alamo. He's not scolding him or anything for just sitting in there. He's kind of like, I get it. Probably didn't know they just watched Mellish die,
Mm-hmm.
or just let him. So they're going back, and that's where Horvath at one point just shot, through the chest and stuff.
Yeah, he got shot in the hip at first, and that's whenever they have the funny little moment with throwing that helmet and pistols at each other and whatnot. Then he
Right.
goes, grabs
Right.
what's his name?
Upham.
Upham.
Yeah.
Anyway, so he grabs Upham there like to the Alamo, and then as he's crossing the bridge, he like takes the bazooka and they start shooting at the other Tiger tank that rolls
That's
around.
right.
And
Yeah.
then
because that thing's coming.
and then Captain Miller is like, you got 30 seconds, get across.
That's right.
And dang,
It's all good. It's all good.
I keep hitting the stupid table.
It's okay. You call my table
No,
stupid?
your table is a very nice table.
Thank you. I made it myself.
That is true, you did. You did make it. Expert craftsman right here.
Thank you.
So then he goes, and then on his way over, he gets shot in the leg, and then he like tumbles, and then that's where you see the guy who was, I mean, if it's not the same dude who killed Fish, but the guy who was let free by Captain Miller and Upham,
Yeah.
who then shoots, because they get like the Germans push up against the
Yeah,
bridge wall,
Yeah, because Upham's like right there. Like
because Upham's hiding like again.
Again, he's hiding. There's a lot of scenes where he's just hiding. That's another thing I noticed.
It's just
At
him
one
hiding
point,
the
at
whole
one
time.
point, he's hiding, and then like the Germans are like pretty much like jumping over him. Like, oh,
Yeah, I was like, there's
Get out
no
of the
way
way.
they could have missed him.
'Cause
But I was
obviously
like,
I-
that's just some plot armor right there.
yeah. I feel like they would have been like, oh, you're still alive. You're American.
Because he's like rolling around, and then you could still the feet like right next to him. I'm like,
Yeah.
how'd you miss that?
There are even some parts where he's like up against the wall and he's like looking around. He's like, oh, there's Germans around this corner. They're like running towards, and he's not completely around. And I feel like they would have been like, wait, someone's
Yeah.
shoulder is hanging around that corner. It's tan. It's obviously American colors.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get them. Wax.
Yeah, I don't know.
And so yeah, there's
He had a little bit of plot armor, but
it's okay. I guess that'll be like oh, there was just there. Every perfect movie every perfect movie has some imperfections,
Mhm.
and it's okay. You can't let that bring you down. Anyway, I'm sounding corny right now. Anyway, so, but yeah, no, that's where he's there with like the Germans. Like, I don't know. I'm trying to clean my table mid podcast. Anyway, so he's sitting there and they're like trying to shoot at the cross. He's still hiding, and that's where you're like, okay, you're a lot of time you're at the other side of the bridge, where Horvath is being shot up,
Yeah.
and then they're
And then
like
he gets down.
returning
He's like,
fire.
I just got the wind knocked out of me.
Yeah, and I love how casual he was.
He's like, oh, he's like, you okay, Horvath? He's like, oh, I just got the wind knocked out of me.
And he's just sitting there
He's
like,
like sitting there like, dying.
he's dying.
Like, he's got the wind knocked
But then you have Ryan, and then they're all trying to rig the bridge. They're trying to get to where they, what they're having to do. They're pretty much accepting it. We're gonna have to blow the bridge. Maybe wait till the tank is like right, right on it, to sink it all with it. But no, they then like at one point they just blow up pretty much.
Yeah, and you get
like
another
right
one of
there.
those shell shock scenes from like the beginning.
Yeah, it's kind of like a throwback to like him just seeing their own guys being slaughtered, and then he at one point looks at looks at Horvath, but he looks at Ryan, and he's like crying, with gunfire being all around them, and they're just it's great. And then like Horvath is like you're dead. Well, he doesn't say that, but he's like Horvath.
He kind of just like looks at him because he's like,
no, he's calling him like Mike, so that's where it's like, oh, that's right, they're like friends,
yeah.
to a point where they call each other by first names. And he's like, Mike.
Yeah.
But no, it's no, it's a sad scene. And then all of a sudden it's like, okay, this is not looking too great. And he's like shot. That's right. He gets up to try to go
to get the detonator for the bridge.
Right, and then Steamboat Willie,
Steamboat
gets him.
Shoots. Which I kind of like that. Well, not that he gets shot, but the way they do that is it goes back to like the POV of the German side and how this character that you've been following through the entire movie just looks so almost insignificant when he's getting shot. No, it was just like it was any other dude.
He's just like wounded. He's like kind of hobbling over to grab it. He's like,
that was just the main character.
It wasn't like a slow motion where like
they didn't do some dramatic thing. It was just
like it was
just like some any other guy they were shooting at.
Almost as if like they have like whenever we do airsoft, just like, okay, we're gonna send someone out, we're just gonna light them up, It felt that insignificant.
Yeah, I think that's honestly like an amazing thing that they managed to pull off.
Right.
Because like in war, it's like how I was saying earlier, it's like you can just die at any moment. Right. And it's like this character that you've been following through the entire movie, who has like been super significant, gets almost this insignificant death. Like he gets shot, and it almost looks like it was just some other dude that had died in the movie,
right?
Or gets shot in the movie.
It's like little do they know, he's like the main character.
Yeah, he has the armor.
Yeah. So yeah, and then that's where he's like shot, and he's like backing up. He pulls out his pistol
and starts shooting at the
tank.
It's
like there's the meme that's been going on where he's like shooting and all of a sudden it blows up. You're like, wait.
The first time I saw that, I was like, no way.
I was like, this
pistol just blew a tank up.
I was like, okay, that took off like 1 point of my score for this movie, big time. But it cuts to him like, the hell, like that just happened.
And then tank, and then the plane.
And then the plane, and then that was like, oh, okay, the planes do come in. All right, now the whole movie is saved. It's kind of like
the Germans are retreating.
Yeah, now they're scattering like roaches. And
then Upham decides to grow a pair, and
he does finally grow a pair
and do something.
I do like the part where he's like, all right, he's like yelling at them, and they're like, oh, they're just like, oh, they weren't like, oh, one guy. It's like, oh, American planes come, I guess that means we surrender. Okay. So he's like, yeah, and he's like, they're like, okay, and then Steamboat Willie's like, hey, Upham, it's me. He's like,
I was like, what?
I do like that part. I was like, nice, you get what you deserve.
Like, I don't know, that part was just weird.
Yeah, it was very interesting how that did happen.
I was just, I don't know.
I was like, it was like two whole moments of like betrayal, where like he was like, "I'm gonna shoot the dude that actually let me free and didn't make the decision to kill me," and then all of a sudden, bam, Upham, who was thinking the same thing for this dude, was like, just like, I'm just gonna kill you, point blank.
So, because it was just like he had this whole thing about not wanting to do that, but I guess maybe that's just showing that he grew, kind
Yeah,
of realizing that you can't really be soft in war. I guess
right. So he did come to the
because like
realization,
people die if you're scared or
right?
soft.
But then cuts to uh, you know, Sergeant, Captain Miller. I keep wanting to call him Sergeant Miller, but it's Captain Miller. I'd get waxed for that, calling him the wrong title. But no, the exchange between he and Private Ryan, where he's like, earn this.
Mhm.
I love that because there is like a scene when they're at the church. Like, I hope this Private Ryan, he goes home, cures a disease, or invents an everlasting light bulb or something, you know. And that's where he's telling him, he's like, earn it for us, please, and then put a lot of stress on one man.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because I mean, like, how many people died for him?
like,
Like 4, 5, 6?
no, like the whole squad pretty much.
Because you still have
Yeah, like,
the
let's
Ben
see.
Affleck look-alike.
Yeah, just Ryben, which is his name, and then Upham were like the
Yeah, Ryben and Upham are the only ones left.
only two that survived out of like, I don't know, like
Maybe 8,
10.
8 or 10.
Yeah, 8 or 10. Not gonna sit here and do it,
Yeah.
because that would be a little waste of time. But then you also have like all the other guys. Well, they probably would have died and not have been as successful if they had stayed. But they also completed a lot more of a mission than just retrieving him, which was good. But it was still like, you survived, you made it out of this. Just please earn it for the men that died under my command,
Mm.
kind of thing. But I really like that. It was something that definitely is like a lot of pressure to put on one man who had just watched a lot of people die in front of him
Mm.
and die already with the conscious that they died for him. So, but yeah, no, I love that. And then that's where it's like, the other mean template where like, he's standing there and he's kind of like inspired almost. And, you see the other guys kind of dealing with the fact that they lost their leader. And you're just kind of like, dang, Tom Hanks just died.
Yeah.
Captain Miller is dead. And then it
Yeah.
has that really good, very well done transition of like from Matt Damon to
To
the
the old
older
guy.
the older gentleman.
Which then you're like, oh, so that wasn't Tom Hanks
Yeah.
who we saw or thought at the beginning. It was
It's like
really
a whole
it was
circle.
Matt Damon.
Oh, the
That was
guy from
Private
Good Will
Ryan.
Hunting and the talented Mr. Ripley,
Mm-hmm.
who later becomes like friggin' most famous star in Hollywood. Wow. Wow. Other than Owen Wilson. Throwback to last episode.
Yes.
But yeah, no, I I like that, and then I like what he asks his wife. He's like,
It's like, did I live a good life?
"Did I live? Tell me I lived a good life. Tell me I'm a good man." Like, okay, and then he was like, his whole thank you, and it's kind of almost like his prayer to Captain Miller. Was like, did I? Did I do what you told me to do? I've been living every day thinking about what you told me, which was, earn
Earn
this.
this, yeah.
And I was like, oh wow, that's where I got the idea. Like, that's pressure to put on the man, because he's how old now? Like 80 maybe,
Something like that.
and around there it's hard to gauge. He's just an older gentleman, and he's been living every day of his life with those words ringing in his ear. That's gotta be rough.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think he did. With whatever he did, he had a good-looking family. So I think he did. Success.
He did something good.
Success in my books.
Success.
Success. Good job, Private Ryan. Almost said Matt Damon.
I don't know why the movie's called Saving Private Ryan, because he is a private first class.
Yeah.
So it's like a totally different rank. I don't know. I don't know why that. I just noticed that because I was looking at his rank and I was like, that's a private first class.
It's just like soldier almost. Is that what it is?
And that's an army soldier. I mean, the army is soldiers.
Right. Yeah, it was interesting. It's like, oh, they're all rangers too, which is, it's like they know
It's
what they're
cool.
doing. Nice. Not that no one else knows what they're doing, because I know a lot about how serious it is. Yeah, I'm gonna stop talking now. Yeah, I mean, shoot, we've already done so much talking about just the movie in general.
Mm-hmm.
Now we have like tidbits on production. I want to try to blow through these. I'm getting tired of talking about this. Not gonna lie, well, like it's a great movie. Definitely deserves a lot of talking about, and just especially like what everyone went through to make this, but also like the meaning of it and the honor that it's trying to hold up for all these people definitely does need to be honored and recognized.
Yeah.
No, I loved it. But yeah, I mean, we have some tidbits. I'll try to go through. The Omaha Beach. No, I said Omaha. What an idiot. The Normandy Beach.
It is Omaha.
It is Omaha.
Well, it's like the landing is in Normandy, but like the
the specific beach
landing that
I'm
they
so
were on
stupid.
was codenamed Omaha.
Oh my goodness, I'm so stupid. So it's in. Oh wow. So it's in Normandy, but it's like
Like
the Omaha Beach.
Well, the beach isn't actually named Omaha. That was its code name.
Oh, I'm so stupid.
Because you have like Utah, Sword, Omaha. I don't know.
Oh wait, no, you're right. You're right.
Oh. Omaha is just the specific one that they focused on for this movie.
Anyway, the whole D-Day thing.
D-Day is wild.
Yeah, I'll put it like that. I'm not gonna try to
the beach
leave room
landing
for
is
error.
Wild.
Yeah, the beach landing took $11 million to make.
Wow,
just the beach scene. And it had 1,000 extras.
Yeah, because they used the Irish Army reserves. The Irish Army reserves helped them film that.
20 to 30 of the extras were amputees who were issued prosthetics.
Interesting.
And like you said, they're all part of the Army Reserves. 1,000 extras is a lot of extras. I've worked on shows where we use 100 background extras,
and
that's already a lot. And it's like, okay, this is going to be a big, maybe rough day. Not that they're rough, but it's like a lot of people to have to maneuver and manage.
Yeah.
But 1,000 of them, wow! And like for the costumes,
and you got to get them fully costumed in the right equipment and everything.
And they'd be like, all right, y'all make these expressions and stuff like that.
Occasionally fall.
Yeah, like maybe we'll have some stuff blow up around y'all, so y'all be ready. Steven Spielberg wanted Matt Damon because he was an unknown actor and had more of an all-American look. He didn't realize Matt would win an Oscar for Good Will Hunting the year before.
That's funny.
Very unfortunate for Spielberg and what his wishes were, but worked out well. The cast went through a rough week at boot camp under instructor Dale Dye, whom Tom Hanks had worked with for Forrest Gump. Only Hanks knew that what the week may look like, but the rest of the cast thought it would be like sitting around the campfire. All the actors went through that boot camp set for Matt Damon. That way the actors would resent him a little more. He'd feel detached from the rest of the cast. I'm thinking Upham too, as we talked about earlier. The explosion effects. Steven Spielberg had drills put on the side of the cameras, not knowing they had shaker lenses. He thought he came up with a new technique. Yeah, I remember reading that. They're like, yeah, Mr. Spielberg, we already have something for that. He's like, dang it, I thought I created something crazy. A big rip in the chat for Steven Spielberg. I'm sorry, buddy. When Captain Miller explained where he's from, I already talked about that. Pretty much where Tom Hanks was like, "Hey, I can't make this speech this long. This is terrible. That's not the character." But many D-Day veterans told Spielberg that this was the most realistic war movie ever captured, and captured all the emotions perfectly, and just the whole event. And they were just like, this, that's why they had to create that hotline for. Which I probably
like PTSD from watching it.
I have in here too, where they created a hotline. The Omaha Beach were shot in South Ireland, so not actually in Normandy. This movie lost to Shakespeare in Love for Best Picture at the Oscars,
which a lot of people were upset about.
Yeah, caused a whole controversy.
Yeah, controversy around that one.
Yeah, it's one of the greatest Oscar controversies. The gunfire is live round recordings from period guns.
Nice.
So pretty cool, pretty cool. That's it for tidbits. Do you have any? Nope. Okay, cool. Yeah, I mean, we'll try to brush through these. I mean, yeah. Personal pros. You
I
have
mean,
any?
like the whole story is really good. I also my personal pros is just all the little moments that you see with the squad where they're just being human and
Right.
just having conversation with each other.
Yeah.
Those are like some of the best parts of the movie.
No, it definitely is. It definitely feels very grounded, very realistic, very well
Shows
done.
that they're normal people.
It does. It does. No, they do. It does great with that too.
Hmm.
Um, my pro is just that I'm very glad this got the reviews it did from actual D-Day veterans,
Yeah,
and where I was like, I think it's so cool that these men went to them and were like, "Hey,
this
you
is real.
captured it perfectly.
Yeah,
You know
it's
this
impressive.
this gave me a little bit of PTSD. This triggered it, and it's like, wow, like
That's how
to
real it
think
was. Yeah.
to think that like these men actually said that who actually experienced this is crazy. You know, it's like an actor watching a biography of themselves or their best friend, being like, this actually happened. But for it to be about not just a person but a historical event, it's just mind-boggling to me. It's awesome. Personal cons.
Um, Mostly Upham's character.
Yeah,
I
that's
just,
mine.
I just
That's
don't
mine.
like
That's mine
Upham.
too.
I don't like
I don't
Upham.
like them. Kind of like my. I guess it ties in with my rewrite, my story rewrite
Me
later
too.
on.
Yep.
That his character, his even his arc in the end is a little more justified.
I just like even like yes, he kind of like grows a pair, but he only does it right as like the Americans roll up.
Yeah,
It's like right as they show up and start winning is when he decides to step out and do something. I'm just like, dude,
yeah. His character,
you
yeah.
are causing the death of so many people right now.
I feel like it could have been a little bit more redemptive. You
Yeah,
know?
like they could have done something better. I think.
Yeah, that's all. But then my only other one is like sometimes the shakiness of the cameras is a
Yeah,
little too much,
too much.
especially during the D-Day scene. It's like okay, you know, they
It's like now
I
I can't
can't
even see
see what's
what's happening.
happening because it's just like all over the place. Where I'm like I just can't tell what's happening.
Mhm.
All I can see is a few people missing limbs. That's all. You know, just blood. That's it. Sand. Question eating answers. Came up with one. While I was thinking about, do you think that Upham, Ryben, and Ryan, after this whole event, do you think they may have like stayed in touch?
I mean, maybe so. They went through a whole like battle together. I feel like they probably would have.
Yeah, I feel like Ryben almost would have like no screw y'all,
Maybe so.
hate
Yeah, yeah.
y'all, you know, just like I'm just gonna go
It's like all my friends are dead.
because of y'all.
Push
Like
me to the edge.
yeah, it's like pretty much, pretty much. That's how I feel about Ryben at least.
I
I
mean,
feel like
yeah.
Upham would be like, hey, you wanna go get tea?
It's
It's like,
I mean, I guess they could have stayed in touch. I mean, I don't know.
yeah. No, I think so. Maybe that was just what I came up with. You know, I'd like to have
Interesting
something.
little thought.
I like to have a little bit of something for each category, even if it's like stupid and minuscule like that.
Hmm.
Notable acting performances.
Tom Hanks.
Tom
I mean,
Hanks.
he won the Oscar, whatever the heck, for best actor.
Yeah, for best supporting actor. No, no.
No, he's the best actor.
Yeah, best lead.
He
Pretty
was
much.
I think he is the lead.
Yeah,
Pretty positive.
yeah. I'm blanking on what they title it. Best,
I don't know,
just
but he
best
just
actor.
the best actor. He won
Yeah,
Oscars for that.
right.
So
And then a lot of other just different awards. Not even if they're for
a
the
lot of it had to
Oscars.
do with the actual like story, like the writing, the director. I mean, because Steven Spielberg, I think got like five Oscars or five awards.
Yeah.
Maybe not Oscars, but awards for the movie for directing.
Right, just a bunch of different awards. Yeah,
Just
no, he
a
definitely did.
lot of different awards for this movie.
Yeah, no, I think Hanks as wrote down did
Killed
a
it.
stellar
Killed
job.
it.
Not a very special character, not very like oh wow, you know he's like he carries two machine guns on his back and stuff,
Yeah.
but he still manages to be very complex. You know, like I said earlier, like where he's still manages to have a mystery to
He's
him.
got a lot of depth to him, and it's just a well written character.
He is, and like
And he performs the character very well.
he's mysterious, but he's only like a grammar teacher. You know, not saying that grammar teachers are not mysterious, but like that's not something you would think about. That's not what you would label with like a grammar teacher.
Right.
I think Damon did a great job, just feeling detached from the rest of them. Just kind of being his own person.
And then kind of like with Upham as well. Whenever they first get him into their
Mm-hmm.
squad, and how everybody else is kind of like teasing him,
Right.
and he's definitely
Detached.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then at the end, everybody kind of like embraces him as one of their own.
Yeah, he finally becomes one of the brothers,
Mm-hmm.
which is what I said about the whole squad. They all seem like brothers. Like,
Yeah.
it would be a while to go through everyone. They just the main people. But each squad member like were their own person, had their own personalities, had their own jobs that they did, and did a great
Yeah.
job with acting on those jobs.
They each brought something to
They
like,
brought
the team.
something to the table, which they all did great.
Mm-hmm.
They all did great. They did great feeling like brothers. Even with their death sequences, each one had their own scene that was like, all right, this person is dying. Or
None of them
strap
ever
in.
felt the same either.
Yeah, no, they didn't. No, they did a great job with like having contrast to all of them.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I always like Barry Pepper, as I mentioned. Always like him. Favorite quotes.
Definitely it was like I got the wind knocked out of me.
Yeah,
Whatever, that one's a funny one.
yeah, it's funny. And then like the mama, like from
I wouldn't say that's a favorite quote. It's just sad.
yeah, well, it's just like it's one where it's like that sticks with you. That one
Or
resonates.
yeah, okay, yeah, it sticks. Yeah, it sticks out.
But yeah, no, I found the whole quote for what um for Jackson says, or he's like, "Well, from my way of thinking, sir, this entire mission is a serious misallocation of valuable military resources. Because it seems to me, sir, that God gave me a special gift and made me a fine instrument of warfare. Like, see, Ryman, this is how you gripe." I love like that whole thing. Like, it's just very well thought out. Like, keep going. But then I also like he's like, I got a bad feeling about this one. And then that's where Miller's like, well, when was the last time you ever had a good feeling about anything?
Yeah.
So those were like a few, just so many great quotes in this. Just a lot of them are like very long, and they really stick. There's just a little too much to like really have a good one. But do you have like any other like really good favorite quotes? Pretty much it. No,
I just enjoy everybody.
Yeah,
All the dialogue I just kind of enjoy.
All the dialogue is very well written
Mm-hmm.
and matches each character.
Yeah,
and they do great with what they were given with their lines. Cinematography.
I like it.
I forgot the name of the dude, and I did not write it down for whatever reason.
The cinematographer is John Janus Kaminsky. I'm not 100% how you sure to say that because it's like an S and a Z.
And then I forgot like what exactly he did. But no, really well done, especially like with all the battle scenes.
Mm-hmm.
I know always complain about how shaky it was in D-Day, but it still was like
it's very fitting and feels right.
With like everything dipping in and out of the water and like diving over, which I talked about earlier.
They do a good job of whenever there's a lot of chaos, the camera's shaky. When the moment's like calm, the camera's like still.
Right.
They do a good job. He does a good job with that.
No, he does. Does a fantastic job. And the score and soundtrack, John Williams,
always blessing.
Classic.
Mm-hmm.
Classic. No, like we said, it was definitely a Saving Private Ryan score.
Yeah.
There wasn't really like a soundtrack, which I think look at as like songs that you've definitely heard before that were just brought into this movie. From like various artists and stuff. But yeah, no, that's how. But no, he did great job with just making this. And Star Wars sounds like Star Wars, and Superman sounds like Superman. This sounded like Saving Private Ryan. But yeah, recasting.
No.
Yeah, no one. Everyone did great with what they had and what they had to do.
Every character kind of looks and acts perfect for their characters or their roles.
They had a $70 million budget. They got a bunch of really good actors, even though like they had like 1,000. They had 1,000 background actors for the Beach of Normandy, and they did great.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't taken out of it by anybody. Even all the German people and even that like little girl did great. All did great. Well, that's it. I mean, that's it for Saving Private Ryan. We got through it. I don't know how long this podcast is gonna be, but it's gonna be a long one. Not as long as the movie,
No,
unless I'm mistaken.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Well, what would you rate the movie?
What would I
Out
rate
of
the
10.
movie?
Out of 10.
About 9.5.
9.5. Why not? Or why?
Why 9.5? I don't know. I'm just always hesitant. I just came up with that right off the top of my head. I'm always hesitant to give it like anything in general a perfect rating, even though, no matter how much I love it, because I know there's imperfections with it. Like, for example, like Upham's character and being too shaky. There's a little bit, but now I'm thinking about it, say 9.8 out of 10. That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
If anything, 9.8 or a 10.
I'm just gonna give it a 10, even
Uh,
though I really kind of dislike Upham.
yeah,
That's just one character though, so it's like
that's
the
true.
rest of
Yeah,
the
it
movie
is.
just
It is very
the rest of the movie is just good.
It is very minuscule.
It's just one character that I kind of don't like. It
A
doesn't ruin my entire
9.99 for me.
9.99.
9.99. Freaking Upham. It
Yeah,
took
Upham ruined it.
took away that
0.01.
0.01%. I love it. But no, that was a great movie. For any reason, any of you heathens have not seen this movie, I know that's pretty aggressive.
That is a bold
It
statement.
was bold and aggressive. I will say you have to watch this movie if you haven't.
Definitely.
I'm gonna go out and evangelize how great this movie is. If anyone has not seen it, in fact, I think I will. And I did do that to my cousins yesterday. Told them we were gonna be doing this podcast. Like, oh, I don't think it's been a while or I haven't seen it. I was like, watch it. Go back home and watch it.
I mean, the
You
movie's been out for
scallywag.
so long, and I mean, it's such a good movie.
It's older than me, and it definitely is timeless and holds up amazingly.
Mhm.
But no, definitely. Did have an interesting thought. We do have some German listeners.
Oh yeah, we do. Forgot about them.
Please email us and let us know your thoughts about this movie. If it's at all offensive in any way, because I'm just curious. I really am curious as to like how they view it. Because like I recently talked with an English cinematographer, and he said that the Kingsman movies were offensive to him. I was like, huh.
Really?
I had never really thought about that. Like, that's something very interesting. He did say that's why he liked the newest one, the newest Kingsman, is because it wasn't offensive to him like the other ones were. I was like, hold up. I didn't have the time to ask him, like, why? How are they offensive? But that's what he said. He was like, yeah, some of them are like almost offensive in certain ways, and he wasn't crying about it, but he brought that up, and I was like, interesting. So I'm really curious. I didn't want to bad talk Germans. I want to specify Nazis. Whether our listeners may be Nazis or not, I just thought I'd do that. But anyway, I guess I'm trying to cover myself up a little too much here, which yeah. But anyway, so no, please email us. Let us know what you think. Germans, goodness, I'm too tired for this. So anyway, no, seriously, but let us know, and just for anyone else, please email us at mailbag@bowtiemovielounge.com. As I mentioned earlier, there's a bunch of movies I haven't seen. We'll do a podcast eventually, or an episode where we talk about those classics that we haven't seen, a lot of war movies, like the old classic ones. And then just follow our social medias. We have an Instagram, Facebook, just to kind of help keep updated. So anyway, without further ado, we thank you all for joining us. We'll see you next time at the Bowtie Movie Lounge. Adios.